We're back. Hello and welcome to the English Whisky Awards 2026. We are starting professional out of the gate. Following our inaugural celebration in 2024, we are back for the second year. So tonight, join me, Jeff Whisky, and Vin, aka No Nonsense Whisky, as we host our fully community-led independent awards championing the very best of English whisky. We'll be joined by representatives of the winning brands, as well as this year we'll have a guest host joining us. So just in case you need a break from our faces. For your feedback last time, we've grown from 3 categories to 5, providing an even wider snapshot of the English whisky scene. And speaking of growing this year, the voting turnout and support has been massive. So I'll pass you over to the poor soul who was in charge of counting the votes this year, Vin.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, a long time no see, I think, for a lot of people here. You know, I haven't done a live stream for well over a year now. So
you've frozen.
Have I frozen? It sounds good to me. I'm good on this side. No, you can't hear me at all.
No, you're good. You're frozen for me, but everyone else can hear you.
I was going to say, I can hear. Yeah, it all looks good for me. You just have to suffer, I'm afraid, my friend. Yeah, it wouldn't be a live stream without some stuff going on. That's for sure. I'm glad of it. I'm glad to see. As you might see, yeah, I'm here in a different setting. I'm here in my lounge now because my whole studio is gone. I'm not really doing the whole video stuff anymore. So a shame, but you know, I'm glad that I've managed to get this to work for today's stream anyway. But yeah, this year, after last year's turnout, we got something like 150 votes last year. 150 voters over the 3 categories. So I was like, yeah, I'll do the count up this year. And then the first day, I think we got to 60 votes this year. And I was like, this is a bit slow, but it's okay. By the end of the week, it was like ding, 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 ding. We'll talk about the numbers a bit later on. But yeah, I had probably a good solid week's worth of data to sift through and declutterize. Because the one thing I've learned about the whiskey community is we don't spell so good, apparently. So yeah, next year I think we're going to change things up maybe a little bit, or whenever we do it next, to make it a bit easier for you guys to vote, maybe less free form. And maybe we'll look at a little nod to the Oswards and maybe do a little bit like what they do and do like a pre-long list to make it a little bit easier. You know, there aren't so many English whiskies that we have to let it be completely free form. But yeah, little intro from me there, and yeah, grateful for Jeff for putting this together in the background and making it happen, because Lord knows I wouldn't have. Oh, Jeff's gone. Okay, just me. Right. Well, so to give you a bit of an idea then, has he restarted? Yeah, you're back? Yeah. I love it. Yeah, you need to have a word with StreamYard. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, sorry, you carry on. I'm not sure what's happened my end. You carry on, buddy. The ball's in your court. I can bring this to the stage and make you in charge. I've completely frozen for me.
No, you look good to me.
Which is what you want, but let's see if I can set you up to be the main host.
I think this might have been your plan all along, isn't it? It's just to set it up.
Are we back? No, it's very robotic for me, but that doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, so perfect then.
Yes, I can hear you kind of fine now, but I'm sure it's my end.
Is there a bit of a lag for you as well? There is, isn't there?
It's complete. I can hear you like every couple of seconds, then it goes. So this is what we want, professional. What we'll do for now to keep the train moving, you carry on, Vin. Are we going to dive straight into the first one?
No, well, let's do a little bit about the English Whisky Week, like you've got on the screen, and talk a bit about why we moved it. Yeah, do you want to go ahead and do that,
Yep.
or me?
Yep. Do you want to do that? Just
I'll
because
do that.
I'm going to try to sort my internet out, so it won't be a second.
Okay, you carry on. Okay, so as you guys might know, thank you for everyone who's watching. We'll delve into some comments in a little bit. We're also going to have a break sort of halfway through this, so don't worry too much. Looking at roughly 2 hours. But yeah, you might remember that last year we did this sort of November. So last year, 2024, it was in the end. We did it in November. And that was great. You know, it worked around kind of like the Oswald's time. But in discussions with various people in the English whiskey world, it kind of made more sense to move this towards English Whisky Week, which centers around St. George's Day, which was yesterday. So yeah, with kind of backing from all the brands who are all gearing up their kind of their thing to get going, it made more sense to move it to here, I think. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that as well. It's nice, you know, today's been a lovely day, but it's been a bit of a cold entry to the year so far. So feedback well received on you guys. If you like it at this time of year or not, then that'd be great to hear. I'm sure we'll have opposing views, but that was generally speaking the idea of it. Now to you know, to push it out, not to every 2 years. Maybe we'll see what happens next year. We'll see if there's appetite for it. Jeff's having some real problems. We can see him fine, but yeah,
It's all good now. I think all good. I've resetted my router and we're back.
like it's unbelievable, isn't it? Like we have all this. Me and Jeff were online for a good half an hour to an hour beforehand. Everything fine. You press go and it's like,
So grateful for you keeping the wheels moving, because I couldn't hear anything. It was like robotic, but yeah, there's the joys of living in bumpkin land down south for me. This is, but yeah, everything's all good.
No, I think you're all good. During that as well, you got yourself a super chat from good man of mine, Codger. So
Brilliant.
good stuff. That is. That'll go some way to paying for StreamYard not doing their job properly.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, a huge thank you to all the people who have supported this. As I think maybe the slide disappeared, they all disappeared. Fully community driven, and we're 100% independent, me and Vin. So we've done the costs for the StreamYard fees and just everything that goes into this. So grateful for all your support. And once we cross kind of into profit, if we do, me and Vin will split it. We'll split it 90-10, and we'll take it with Vin, of course, having 90. But
yeah, I'll do it per minute on voting.
We'll start a poll. But yeah, I think you were saying about the numbers of votes.
Yeah.
Apologies, I've thrown this off the track straight off the bat.
No, you're all good, my friend. Yeah. So after all the counting, we had quite a lot more than I will say we had quite a lot more than the 4,123 votes here. But I had to discount things that were completely invalid, like Scotch, for example. People were voting for some Scotch and some Welsh and things like. Obviously, we can't vote that count. We can't count that vote. But also things that were like I did some research with spelling and things like that. But when things were completely, I had no idea what it was. Like I think I got a few votes for like sherry cask, and it's like, well, it's too ambiguous to count, right? So we had to discount that. But as Jeff will go into a bit later on one of the awards, we probably made it a little bit too ambiguous for the results to come in. So to make it count, which we'll talk about when that award comes up, to make it count, we did have to do a little bit of changing around about how we were reporting it. But hopefully you guys will see why it makes sense to do that, because we were going to lose something like 20% of the votes on that if we didn't do it. So it wouldn't have been fair to you guys. But yeah, so the big thing to say is a massive thank you to everybody who got involved. I think this year the brands really backed it, which was really good. I really enjoyed that. But you guys really came through, and we over 4 times as many votes as the previous year. That's just stunning. You know, like considering our little category is so small in comparison. I think everyone in the English world is doing a really good job right now of really pushing the brand forward. There's no brands that I can think of that aren't towing the line. So I think it's great. It's great to see, and it's great that all you guys are interested. You know, there was a time when I used to get comments about English whiskey whenever I covered it, and people would be like, "What are you covering this for? It's rubbish." And over the last decade, that's gone from, you know, okay, there was a couple that were questionable, but now it's not even the case. So you know, massive thanks to everyone for buying it and for the brands for making it, right?
Yeah, for sure. The vast majority of every English whiskey is pure liquid gold.
Yeah.
And it's it's putting, and I always say people who are predominantly Scotch based, as good as English whiskey gets, it just means Scotch has to work harder. So we all love drinking Scotch. I'm predominantly like behind me is Scotch, but the power and the rapid rise of English whiskey has just been a fantastic. And the fact, it's local to me and you, this is our local whiskey. It's just, a phenomenal and exciting thing to get involved with. And that's why we started these awards thinking they'll be just a small thing. And it's become probably a lot bigger than I thought. I don't know about you, if you had wider plans, Vin, for this. You had the lofty dreams, but for me, it's got way bigger than I thought it would have.
No, I mean, yeah, exactly that. It's a lot. Obviously, the last time around, you did the like 90% of the heavy lifting. So I shared the load a bit this year, but it's crazy the response we've had this time, and that can only get better and better as we craft it. Because really, like genuinely, we take advice from people, but it really is just me and Jeff who figure this out. So when we come up with the awards, that's really just like two guys who have never done this sort of thing before figuring that out, and we'll figure it out every year. We'll change it and whatnot. So it's just one of those things. We'll take feedback from you guys basically about what we do, and we can add and take away awards as we get along. But the one thing we're conscious of is keeping everyone here for a long time, because this is already going to take probably 2 hours, and that's a quick cadence. So yeah, I guess we're getting on already behind schedule, so we better crack on, right?
Yeah. So before we quickly fly into the first one, the same as last year, we want to highlight as much good English whiskey as possible. So every category has a winner and 3 runners up. So then that way it just adds to your shopping list. It makes this tonight a more expensive on your wallet to highlight as many good English whiskies as possible. And with that, we're going to go into the first one. So Vin, do you want to crack on with the best value English whiskey?
Yeah, so it's my honor to open it up this year. So we've got the best value English whiskey, and the idea behind this one is for people to not think about the best of the best, the best tasting, whatever. Is literally to factor in price into it as well. So the best bang for buck almost. But ultimately, you guys could vote for whatever you liked. So that led us on to I think this is one of the most popular voting categories we had. People have got a lot of opinions on this. So yeah, we had quite a lot of stuff on it, and we went by bottle on this one as well. So hopefully we've got some good results there. Jeff, have I got control of this?
I'm just trying to set that for you now. It says you do, but I don't believe StreamYard because it's already let me down once. But if not, I can just gradually tap through.
You carry on. So yeah, as we said, we're going to be doing the runners up first, and this will be going from 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then the reveal of the first, and then afterwards we will show you the top 10, and then we'll bring in a guest from the winner, hopefully. Yeah, let's go for it, Jeff. Go on. So 4th place, we've got the English Original. This is one of the first core releases they did alongside the Smoky. Perfect. 3rd place was the English Sherry Cask, which I think won its own awards for best whiskey in the world a couple of years ago. So it's great that that's still pushing away. Then we're going for the Wireworks Bourbon Barrel. People are still loving this whiskey. Obviously, it's been out for a while, which leads us on to the winner. Cotswold Signature Single Malt Whiskey. Of course, I think this one won it last time as well. So it's a hard one to push off. But it's about 40 odd quid for a bottle. They're still producing stunning value on that. Stunning value.
Yeah, for sure. And to join us, Dan, if you're ready to give us a thumbs up. Yeah, all good. So joining us to celebrate the win is the man himself, Dan. Let's make it so I can bring you onto the screen. Perfect.
There he is.
How are you doing?
Hello, guys. How are you?
Very well. Very well.
As good as I can be with this dodgy internet. A huge congratulations. 2 years in a row.
Thank you so much. I happen to have a glass of said whiskey in my hand. It's my go-to, and just having a lovely Friday night with friends. So this is a great honor, and I just want to thank you. And we did win this award in this last time around. I think it was 2024, and it probably means more to me than any other award in terms of having value in the title, because that's such a big part of our philosophy. We think it's so important that a whiskey not only be approachable from a taste point of view, but affordable, particularly in this day and age when it seems like everything in the world is conspiring against like the British consumer, including the government, more first and foremost. And it shouldn't break the bank to have a nice dram of whiskey with a lot of flavor. And so that's why we feel, if you're really trying to grow the category, and if you're trying to hopefully eventually break out of even the English whiskey category and just be a great crossover whiskey, you have to have a reasonable price. So we specifically, we don't have a lot of margin on this, but we do have local barley and long fermentations, and typically a first fill. Both of the casks that are in here, the STR and the bourbon, are first fill, so they're one-use casks. So it's a very costly thing, but the result is that in 3 years you get a really good flavor. So really happy, and we will continue to make this the way it is, no matter how old our stock is, because we think it's really great at 3 years old, and we're going to try and keep the price as reasonable as we can, because that's the goal, really. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
some of the chat's been saying like it's just so available, which is crazy, considering how small the category is. Yeah, there's Toby there saying it's just like you can get it almost everywhere. You don't have to fight for it, and at the value it's going for. Yeah, like everyone says, a worthy winner, definitely a worthy winner.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm relieved to hear it's not going to change. For me, this is a perma shelf. I've got an open bottle, but in the panic for tonight, I couldn't find it. I think that's in the kitchen, so I've had to grab my unopened one.
That's exactly where it should be, Jeff. In fact, I don't know if you've heard this term, but we're now just calling it kitchen counter whiskey, because I've got about 300 in the sitting room on shelves, and after a long day, I just don't have the brain power to go in and look at them all and what am I going to want and this one. I just want something that's going to deliver, and it's sitting on the kitchen counter. It's the only one there.
Nice.
Yeah,
I mean, for my sins, I've got two bottles of it, but one of them is one of the inaugural releases that you signed for me, Dan. So that isn't getting opened anytime soon. And the other one is the 10th anniversary labeling bottle that you did for the party. Again, that's not getting opened anytime soon. So really, I need to buy another bottle to make sure I've got one that's open, because those two are staying.
I'll sign as many as you want, Ben. Just keep drinking them and just bring them in. I'll sign another one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that. I mean, it was, I forget what year that was when we first came over to pick those first bottles up, those inaugural bottles. That was crazy times. Because it was like nobody had done anything like that before.
It was 2017. We first came out with Signature, and we always wanted like our first whiskey to be a core. So this was the first whiskey, and it's made the same way as the inaugural release. And we just never stopped making it. And we feel really strongly about having core whiskeys that are always out there. It's nice to have a limited edition here or there, but you ought to be able to get to know a distillery from its core range.
Yeah, and the sentiment's very much being shared in the chat. We've got people now going out to order the bottle as well. I think so many people saying how top notch it is a testament to how good it is, especially at the price. And I'm proudly probably the cheapest person in the whiskey review world. Painfully cheap at times, and for me it's a perma shelf. There's always at least one on the go. So yes, I think the best thing to do is to say a massive cheers to you, Dan, and everyone at Cotswolds who's producing this amazing stuff.
Thank you so much,
and long may it continue.
Long may it continue.
Cheers.
Right,
and I'm just going to drop you into the background, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Cool.
And see if I can manage this. I'm currently tethering off my phone, Vin. So if I do disappear, let me know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe I spent days and weeks planning getting internet out here, but we carry on. So if I do disappear, feel free to carry on. But yeah, a very, very worthy winner. Cotswolds again, 2 in a row. The people know what they're saying for this one. So I've got here.
Oh, I need to carry on with this. Sorry, don't I?
I could. You got this. I can take it on if you want. Sorry,
no, I'll do it. What I was going to do, I was sneakily trying to get the presentation up in the background, just in case you do drop off, and then I can just swing in and present it. But yeah, I'll finish this one off, and I'll do that when you're talking on the next one. What we thought we'd do this year is introduce the top 10 as well, because this gives a really good round idea about what people really think. I mean, we haven't released any figures with these. And yes, I will say that the big heavies who won the categories won it by a good wedge, so that's fair. But I think it's really, really interesting to see where we are with these in the top 10 and what makes it in and what makes it interesting. So yeah, starting from the bottom, 10th, we've got the Wireworks Necessary Evil, Cotswolds Founder's Choice, which is their 60 quid offering, which I think is a great choice as well. The English Smoky, which is the counterpart to the original. The Filey Bay Flagship, which is, again, another core range from another great distillery. The Circumstance Single Grain Estate, which is one of the, I think I've got this one up here somewhere. The Wireworks, I'm never sure if it's Kaduru, we'll go with that. And then the 4 that we've announced. So, yeah, you can see, like for instance, Wireworks, very strong. English, very strong. But even some of the newer guys coming through, like fitting into this category is fantastic, because it's really easy to put out a whiskey that's quite expensive, I think, and it is expensive to make it in such small volumes like we do down here. So to get a good value whiskey, I think, is quite difficult. So yeah, massive congratulations to all these guys who made the top 10. I wish I'd have figured out how many total we had votes for, but it was each category, especially this one, we gave people 3 to choose. So I think I had over 900 entries to sift through, and then obviously tally up. So really, really good. Someone's just asking what the first category is. Best value English whiskey. There you go, on the top there. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, so it's brilliant stuff. I think you may have host rights, Vin. If not, let me know and I'll try another way. So yeah, a fantastic and dangerous shopping list. Everything on there that I've tried, I would say, is well worthy of being a fantastic value English whiskey. And that brings us nicely to the next one. So this is the best new English whiskey distillery. This is a new award that we brought in this year, because we're fortunate the English whiskey scene has exploded in the best way. So many new distilleries turning up and bringing their best stuff to the shows, to the shelves, to everywhere. So we wanted to highlight the ones which have been going for a shorter amount of time to kind of champion every distillery and give the newer ones a chance to battle with the ones who've been more established for longer. So it's based on active distilleries which have been founded in the last 8 years. And for this, it's kind of factoring in distillery tours, marketing, the range of whiskey, quality, practices, everything that would make something you want to say, this is the best English whiskey distillery in this new category. So we'll fly straight on unless you want to add anything, Vin.
No, I was just going to say, at this point, we should probably shout out the Cooper King distillery map, the English whiskey distillery map, because they, like a lot of this is the dates especially are based on what they've provided, to save me having to sift through and go through that. So whatever they've put down as their founded year, it was the important one. Now that's important for a reason, because some of these guys haven't put out whiskey, even though they're older than 8 years old. And there's not really anything I could do about that. We could have made it 10 years, I guess, but the whole point of this is to highlight the new guys as well, to give them a chance to be there. So yeah, we'll take some advice from you guys. If you think 8 years is too short or too long, we didn't want to go 5, because there are so many English whiskey distilleries that are just ignoring 3 years, ignoring 5 years, and really ploughing on to make really quality whiskey. But obviously there are a lot of guys that just put things out at 3 years, and it's great. But yeah, we sort of toyed with 8 years. So yeah, if the year said 8 years ago versus 2026, we weren't talking about months. So yes, you could say that some of these guys are probably, for the finite. Forgive us for that. We're no professionals here, but that's the line in the sand we drew.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a blur as well, because some brands will say they're founded at a different site at a different time in their marketing, as they would say on HMRC and all this lot. There's kind of that grey area. So we try to just do 8 years, as Vin said. It's a good cut off. It felt like a fair balance between more established and newer brands. And with that, we'll go into the runners up, and that is starting with Fielden Distillery, followed by the London Distillery Company, and then the Spirit of Birmingham Distillery. So these are the 3 runners up for Best New English Whiskey Distillery, with the winner being Circumstance Distillery, which is very much a well-loved, I think, would you say it's fair to say, Vin, an experimental distillery? They produce
they're kind of doing things from all over. That I think they're doing some traditional stuff for sure, but they're breaking free of what of how whiskey is made, and just like one of my favorite whiskeys they ever made was the rice one, and it was just so bonkers how they made it, like in IBCs with staves and stuff like that. And there are a lot of people that would go sort of, oh no, to that, but for me, if it tastes great and it's a great price and it's done in the right way, I'm happy. So yeah, for them to win this, I think is well deserving. And I think that, to be fair, I think they just squeezed in as well. I think they might be on the 8 years. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, very much by the skin of the teeth. And it was only 9 votes between Spirit of Birmingham and Circumstance. So it was very squeaky time at the top.
Yeah, it was a tight
we were going to be joined by Liam Hurt, but he's not appeared yet. So what we'll do, Vin, we'll go on talking about the top 10 list. And then if he appears, we'll bring him in. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've got this one slated until what? Actually, we're well ahead of time. So yeah, we've got plenty of time to have a little chat about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the top 10. So at the bottom, you have the Isle of Wight Distillery, the Lancaster Spirits Company, Witchmark Distillery, which I think is now my closest distillery, or it's or it's a tie between a few. Grasmere Distillery, Ardgeffen, I don't know if that's right. Retribution, Fielden, the London Distillery Company, Spirit of Birmingham Distillery, and then Circumstance at the top. These were like massively close. And to point out, we do have Fielden in there, and this is a bit of a grey area, so it's best we touch on it. So Fielden kind of came out of the Oxford Artisan Distillery, so Toad. However, they was it with Diageo, or they had investment from someone, and they and it wasn't just a rebrand, it was a whole new distillery. They kind of up sticks and took and moved away. So we thought it does class as its own new English distillery. Toad is also now becoming something else, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the definitions here as well, because if you look at like using Scotch as an example, if you, I mean, it's weird because if you put a new still in the same building, and it could make a completely different spirit, and yet you could then call it whatever, you could mix it in with whatever, and it'd just be the single malt whiskey. Now, if you take those exact stills and move it to a whole other site, you've got to call that a whole new distillery. So I was completely happy with Fielden, although they've got heritage and they've got stock. I was completely happy with them being called a new distillery, because they are a new distillery. So it's one of those ones, and it's the same with like London Distillery Company. They're technically a revival, but they only really revived at the beginning of 2025, right? So you couldn't say they've got 3-year-old whiskey because they've got stocks from previous, but we've took it as 2025 as their revival because that's when it was revived. It's hard to say, right? So you have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. So we did. I also realized just now then that probably the reason why Liam is not here yet, because I probably told him past and it's not quite there yet, so he'll probably drop in just a sec.
We didn't think we'd be so efficient. I tried to buy time with this whole pretend internet issue. Unfortunately, we feared we was going to ramble on too much, so we're trying to be as tight and as efficient as possible. And before Liam does join, there's a lot of Circumstance praise appearing in the chat. So Whiskey Enthusiast, Circumstance is awesome. It was one of the first distilleries I visited, and it's an experience of distillery. It's kind of, you go in and you can see everything down this kind of like corridor, and it was just a nerd's delight.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, unfortunately, I've not been there yet. Bristol's a bit of it's not a super trek for me, but it's a good wedge of a day out for me. So finding the time to do it has been a struggle. But yeah, I guess for you, for a long time, it probably was your nearest distillery, right?
Yes, it was. It definitely was the nearest distillery, and then there's Dartmoor Distillery, which is kind of a bit the other way. So I'm kind of in between, and then you've also got near me. Unfortunate. It's gone from me being down south where there's nothing here, and I kind of had to. My first distillery I went to was Penderyn in Wales, because that was kind of the closest. And then from then, and then you've got kind of Cotswolds is similar up that way for me. But I'm very fortunate now. Yeah, there's Witchmark, Retribution, Wiley. So many like are popping up down here, which is I'm very pleased to see anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for me as well. You know, there was a distillery that was, I guess, a shame not to get this into this list because it was the West Midlands distillery, but they are technically older than 8 years. You know, they really sat on their liquid and experimented for a long time. So they didn't make this cut, but yeah, very interesting distillery. Same with Spirit of Birmingham. You know, like it's actually a friend of mine from my local whiskey club does this. And it's not a distillery you can visit because it's in the guy's garage, you know, and it's incredible to see that what they're doing, what they're producing some incredible liquid because like obviously getting the spirit right is important, but getting the wood right is so important. And when you've only got a few barrels made a week, you can't mess that up. You can't just have a duff barrel. You've got to really try hard with that. So yeah, I think people like Spirit of Birmingham coming into this as second, considering they've only released a handful of special releases, they haven't got core, of course not. Is fantastic. Someone down in the comments was asking about Ad Geffrin as well. They haven't got their own whiskey yet, but their blends actually, I've got one back here, there, right at the end there. They're doing a good job, you know. I mean, so technically that's got some Scotch in it. So really, we can't call that English whiskey, right? But we're, you know, as a distillery, they are English, but they're right up north, you know. So they've got access to a lot of good stuff up there. But yeah, even though they're blending their own whiskies, we've had this in the past, and I'm not ashamed to say it, that some of the earlier blends that went out from some of the earlier English whiskey distilleries weren't good. They were a bit misguided, and they were trying to put some stuff out. And it's a really dangerous thing to do, to slap your label on a whiskey that isn't yours at all and go, this is kind of what we're hoping to make. I think that's a really like, you know, it's fine to do it if you do it well, but as a warning to some of the new guys, you have to be really careful with that because if it could be twofold, right? It could be rubbish and everyone has already got a bad idea for your brand, or it could be fantastic. And then when your whiskey comes out and it's not as good, that could be a challenge as well. But I think Ad Geffrin have done a really good, nice middle ground with that. They've made a nice valued whiskey that tastes just fine. You know, I'm not ashamed to say it's not like super exciting, but it's exactly what it's designed to be. Unfortunately, I haven't tried Grasmere or Witchmark. I've tried a few Lancasters. Retribution got me so unbelievably drunk at the last English Whisky Festival because I just rocked up to his stand and I was like, what you got? And I was there for a good half an hour drinking like 60% whiskies. And it was fantastic. Everything, and he's just a one-man band, same as Wiley, which I think is equally fascinating.
And Richard's a purely passionate man, and he's also really good on marketing on social media. And that shows as well how many of these brands have been doing that and connecting with us nerds and getting us all pumped about these new brands popping up. Greg says it brilliantly, saying there's 5 names here he's not heard of, and English whiskey is booming. It certainly is, and it's because it's coming from a new place. I feel like there's more passion and drive. You can't relax and lie on your heritage name. You can't just think, yeah, we can take it easy, we can take the gas, you know, take a foot off the pedal. It's a case of brands doing what they love, and definitely in most cases, to then put forward drinks that we love. And Whiskey Shared as well, Toby, agreeing there's 5 he's not heard of. You mentioned about Witchmark Distillery. While we've got a bit of time on our hands, I was very fortunate. I went over there to visit it, and it's the first distillery tour I've been on that had to be cut short due to there was a fire.
Wow.
We started the tour, and right next to where my car was parked, you could start hearing some bangs. And to discover just outside of their distillery grounds is a shed, which apparently is full of like shotgun shells, which caught fire. So that was a very interesting tour experience to be kind of told, everyone move your cars quick. Fortunately, I wasn't in an electric car, so it could have been a lot worse. That was kind of, everyone drive out, come back to the tour center, and where we had to wait around probably about 40 minutes for the fire engine to come, because the call down the other end of the line to be, we've got a whiskey distillery that's on fire. That's probably giant alarm bells for a fire engine. Luckily, the distillery was all completely fine, and it was just outside of their grounds, but still a very interesting tour experience. So I need to go back and actually do the tour and try the whiskey in cask.
Definitely.
Are you happy to? Should we carry on, or we can wait? I'm happy to follow your lead on this, Vin.
I think we'll carry on chatting. To be honest, we've got a good wedge of time. But yeah, I was going to say, following on from what you said there about the fire, it's a really interesting subject because in my day job, I'm in an engineering environment and I'm actually explosive atmosphere trained. So it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people that around the stills where ethanol is in the air, that would be explosive. But one of the most dangerous places in a distillery that's got their own sort of milling area is exactly there, where they're sort of grinding the flour, the barley down in the first place, because flour is in the atmosphere is very explosive. The flames can propagate through the gaps in between the particles very, very, very quickly. You can Google it and go on YouTube and watch flour fires. They're terrifying. The flame propagates real quick. So a lot of them, one of the ones I've been to in like Torreveg is a good example. We're talking about Scotch for a moment. They've got all that behind a glass door. So they'll say, come in, bring your cameras, no worries. It's like a petrol station. There's no real recorded fatalities at a petrol station with a phone. So just come in. But you only look through this glass. You're not going in there at all, because that is an actually dangerous place. So I find that really fascinating how, especially different distilleries can be as well. Like sometimes you'll go for a tour and they'll say absolutely no phones, and I'll sort of go, hey, look, I've got a certificate in this, so I know you're talking rubbish.
You're that.
Yeah, but it's you have to abide by the rules, right? If someone tells you to put your phone away, then you put your phone away. It's one of those ones, but it's a fascinating, dangerous place. Alan saying Torreveg didn't allow cameras. I mean, I went there on a bloggers event, so maybe they just let us do it because of that. But yeah, especially at their distillery, it's very tight and narrow, so fire escapes would be a real problem, I think, there. But that's the thing.
And that's very much why I wanted to bring you on for the stream, Vin. So I'm quite monotone, but bringing you along, you are trained in providing an explosive atmosphere, as you said. So that's why you're here. I'll be leaning on you.
It's it's a funny thing when I'm going around a distillery. Really, if you boil it down, I'm a process guy. So I like valves and pipe work and efficiency above all else. So I love a vertical distillery like that, Port of Leith and what used to be the McMira distilleries. Love all that. But when people are going around, they're hearing the tour, and I'm interested in how they're diverting their spirits and how they're doing that efficiently, because every kink in that pipe is going to reduce efficiency and increase your electrical outputs and whatnot. So I find all that. You'll find me under there going, if I get a chance to look under some stills, I'll be like, oh, yes, it's great. I'll tell you where it's good for that. Again, I'm sorry to talk about Scotch, I think, but the Holyrood is great for how their process flow happens. Really fascinating. I love all that. And that's going back to circumstance. That's probably why I would love it going there, because they're doing so much weird stuff, versus what, like when I say weird, I mean versus the traditional double distilled Scotch method, which is tried and tested. We all agree with that. But for me, going a bit off piste a little, it was tried and tested, because back in the day when whiskey was first sort of created, the first thing that comes off the still is methanol, right? And that's a human poison. So we had to develop these methods to make it safe for people to consume. And that's just kind of gone through the times. Now engineering has changed completely. Industrialization has set in, miniaturization has set in, automation has set in, there's real science behind it now, rather than just slowly testing iterations until people stop going blind. And now we can go back to that previous times where the methods didn't exist and really build on that again. And I think that's a really good opportunity for English whiskey to do that, sort of free of the constraints of traditional methods, let's say. I still think it's great that we do it. We need that traditional methods, but the experimental side is more than welcome for me, more than welcome.
Yeah, it's about finding that key balance between one man and a wrench, as well as these slick. While we're on the topic of Scotch, we're allowed to have this little Scotch interlude. It's the difference of seeing Ben Romack Distillery to then, is it Cairn? So they're both Gordon MacPhail owned. And Ben Romack is your dirty, greasy, you're carrying the same span around in your overalls, while the Cairn is the Death Star. It's a spaceship. everything's controlled by one machine, and it's all chrome and silver, and you can see your reflection. And while we're here, a quick thank you to Malt Rummager, great name, thanks so much. Whiskey Malt Content, thank you. Cheers to all the English whiskey fans. Paul Gids, thank you, buddy. And Cesare the Fly, good to see you together, pals. Cheers. And also gifting 5 memberships. So thank you all for the support on this. It all goes back into what we're doing. Next time, a lot more funds is going to go into my internet connection, I'm afraid to say. Because I currently, everyone for me still is frozen, but I can hear people, so that's all that matters. And yeah, we're getting so much love for the winner that is Circumstance.
Yeah, 100%. I think you need to invest in Starlink or something, mate. Not that I want you to give any more money to the crazy man, but you know, it's yeah.
Sure. It's I spent a long time digging a trench to get a cable from the road to here, and I don't want that all to be in vain.
No,
it's go on.
I was going to say, if you agree, because the next section we were going to have a little bit of an interlude, which we're doing anyway. Why don't we bring, if he's ready, bring Rich in, and we can have a 3-way chat about English whiskey, because he's the man, right? He's the man for English whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. Rich, I'd seen him in the chat, but he's not joined.
Is he not? Join
the
StreamYard, Rich, and we'll get chatting, because I think if anyone's to give him a bit of an intro before he gets on, Rich of Exploring English Whiskey. I don't think. Apart from people that actually make English whiskey, and maybe the English Whiskey Guild, I don't think there's a single man who's doing any more for English whiskey right now than him. You know, he's got the English Whiskey Festival, which, to be honest with you, I mean, after you've done that, then join, yeah? Bit of Phil, bit of Baloo for the dads. And then... sorry. So then, he does his English Whiskey Festival, which for me is one of my favourite festivals, because it's still small enough. You can still get around all the stands. You don't have to stand there like with your cap in hand, being like, please, reaching over people. You can get a chat with these guys, and you're also getting cask samples right from these guys who haven't got whiskey yet. So they're just like, hey, why not try this instead? Here he is.
Hello.
How you doing, Rich? Sorry about that. Just wrenched you in.
Yeah.
Haven't even poured a dram yet. Give me a chance.
Fair play to you. Well, you've been active in the chat, so that's good. Oh, look at that. Perfect.
Was that SAB?
Yeah, Spirit of Birmingham. It's our cask with them, which is absolutely banging. English oak, using their wash to season it for 6 months before the spirit goes in. Whoa. Delightful.
And we've had the comment that sums it up from Alan. Vin and Pete are great, but Richard is the English whiskey oracle. And we won't be bending spoons here, but we'll leave you to chew the cork and tell us the inside story of English whiskey. I don't think anyone has done more for English whiskey, like socially and spreading the word, than yourself, buddy. So
thanks, guys. Thanks. I was totting up the other day how many distilleries I visited, and I think I visited 31 English distilleries out of the 71-ish that exist. Some of them twice, actually, because places like East London, which have now got a new home. So yeah, do I get to count those twice? I don't know. But yeah, I think you'd be hard pushed to find anyone that's done that. Definitely professionally. I know there's a few enthusiasts that have the time and money to just go on holiday all the time and visit wherever they want. But I think, professionally, I don't know many people that have visited that many, other than maybe Morag from the English Whisky Guild. So yeah, no, I'm honoured to be able to promote, celebrate, raise the profile of the category, and that is exactly what kind of Exploring English Whisky exists to do. So we don't get involved in what's going on behind the scenes with things like the GI. I might personally have an opinion, which you're welcome to buy me a dram and find out at any time. But professionally, as a company, we're trying to just really shine a spotlight on what everyone's doing. And actually, it's great because Cotswold's Signature was the very first English whiskey that got me into English whiskey and kind of meant that Exploring English Whiskey came about. It was on a lineup for a Six Nations tasting, and I bought it from Sainsbury's, and I didn't really think it would land that well. You know, we had a Port Charlotte from Scotland, we had a Penderyn, you know, we had some really interesting French stuff from Armoric and Italian from Puni. And the feedback on that tasting was, wow, this English stuff is really good. Like, you know, why did we not all know that English whiskey was good? So I started, you know, ferreting around and going, well, you know, what else is there beyond the Cotswolds? And, you know, back then it was actually quite easy because there were maybe 15 distilleries. Now there's 71. So it's, I dropped a link to our map in the chat, actually. So the Cooper King map is fantastic and you can buy a copy and put it on your wall, but it's only updated once a year. So we've got an interactive Google map that we try and update whenever we find a new distillery. And they do, you know, people send me distilleries that I've not heard of. So there's another one in Cumbria, Stanaways, that we've just added, you know, so yeah, it is growing. If you zoom out, England is just a big red dot, basically. You have to zoom in. And regionally, it's really interesting as well. You know, there's loads in Yorkshire, there's loads in Cornwall. So yeah, I love it, and I'm very excited. And these awards are brilliant because they do this award that you've just done particularly. You know, it really highlights those distilleries that people haven't already seen or haven't come across or haven't tried. So, you know, everything on that list is amazing. Go and check it out.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous list. If I can see if I can make it bigger with us to the side of it, it is a very dangerous shopping list. And the fact that these are all new distilleries, and yet so many of them have such amazing liquid. And like when you go to a show, you've got the Exploring English Whisky show, which is just championing these brands and giving them a voice. And it's just amazing what you're doing, Richard. So we're very grateful to have you here, as well as to have you host the next award, which we will get to soonish.
Yeah.
Well, just on the festival. So it's our 5th year this year for the festival. Technically the 7th if you include the online ones, but 5th for the actual physical, you know, event. So if you haven't been, we're in Birmingham on November the 21st. Please come along. It is the only place where you can be in a room with 30 plus English distilleries, and hopefully that number will keep creeping up.
Yeah, I think I mean this will be my Jeff. This will be my 3rd year, and the one thing I've really enjoyed seeing is like the first year I went, there was just a stand with one guy and one bottle being like, here's some new make. And then the next year he's like, hey, here's something that's been aged. And then like this year, there'll be some whiskey, you know, you're watching these brands grow. And some of these guys have been around for a while, sure. But yeah, I think that's probably the most fascinating thing that I found about going there is just the engagement with the brands. They're usually when you go to like a big show, you've got brand ambassadors and you've got people employed, maybe even PR companies that have coming in to do it. In this way, at the English Whisky Festival, you've basically got distillers who have made it going, here, try this thing that I made. And I just think that's incredible, you know. Yeah, and oftentimes these are the owners as well, owners making it themselves.
Yeah, founders, owners, you know, people's partners, kids, you know, it's a real family affair as well. So yeah, no, it's fantastic. So yeah, it's an honor to be able to put on a kind of category event. You know, I run other whiskey shows and they're fantastic and I love them, but there's something really special about being able to put on an event for a whole category. And it's a really nice opportunity for distilleries to come and meet each other, because obviously they're kind of heads down distilling, trying to sell, you know, especially at the moment, it's not easy for them out there. So for them to be able to come together and, you know, grab a coffee before the show starts or come to the after party and sort of, you know, chew the fat afterwards, it's a really nice opportunity for them to, you know, check each other out, see what everyone's doing and maybe take inspiration from stuff that they've not come across yet.
And for me as well, it's the only festival I've ever been to where someone is just so happy to grab a megaphone and be like, next masterclass. I think it's brilliant. I love it. You know, I was there for when I filmed you the first time I went, and I was there for before it all started, and the little huddle that you did, and it was great. I loved all of that. It was brilliant. Yeah, long may it continue, and long may it stay in Birmingham as well, because then I can get to it nice and easy.
Well, the reason I'm drinking Spirit of Birmingham is I now live in Birmingham, so I felt like, you know, it's hard to choose when you're trying to be kind of category agnostic and not pick favourites. So I was like, well, I'll just go for the closest one, and you can't really begrudge me that.
And it's a tactical choice, but if you could bring it further south, that would be great. Just 1 year, please.
I do run a festival in Bristol, which you came to, so you know.
That was. How was that, a month? Was that 2 months ago now?
Yeah, it was 2 months, yeah.
It was February.
It was February. It was ages ago.
It's all a blur, time is. I've got 2 young kids. I don't know what day this is today. It's a case of just, as you can see, it's not just the internet that's misfiring today, it's my brain as well. But we can't speak of this whole awards platform without mentioning he's just popped in briefly in the chat, and that is Roy, Mr. Aquavite, very generous. I'm assuming he's landed, so we did see if he wanted to get involved, but he is Limburg Festival. So to everyone who's going to that, I think that's tomorrow, is it? Or is it a 3-dayer? I'm not sure, but it's quite a cultist whiskey festival. So everyone who's gone there, hope you have an amazing time. And yeah, these awards came off the back of the Oswars. So the Oswars are in a lull year this year. So they do, like us, every other year. So we could just say Roy and Ralphie copied us, even though that... But no, we took what they made, the magic they captured on a stream about celebrating Scotch. We wanted to bring that to our own English whiskey, and we're not quite at their level yet, but I'm sure a few more years, a bit more polish, we'll get there. But it's just, yeah, so huge grateful to Roy and Ralphie. So thank you for starting this snowball and letting others happily, and to be so encouraging with others taking their own spin on it. So we are waiting. I want someone to do an Irish one. I want someone to do like an Indian one. Just everyone, if you're passionate about it, it'd be great to see more world brands, even though I think the term world whiskey is a bit old hat. It's not necessarily accurate anymore to just do the 3 then world.
Yeah, it's
but
a tough
it's
one, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
there's a Welsh Whisky Awards as well, which is a very different affair to us. You know, that's actually an in-place event, almost black tie, I want to say, but maybe not quite that formal, but still getting there for formal. You know, so there's always that. You know, rather than sitting in the comfortable confines of our own homes, we could always rent a hall out and get everyone together. But you know, maybe for our 10th year, I think I'm happy keeping it low key and keeping it community led. That's really our focus, isn't it? Because me and you could have tasted all these whiskies and forced all the brands to send us samples, which have been great. We'd have liked that. But ultimately, it had to be what the people out there are drinking. That's the important part, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And with it being community based and with us being fair as well, it's worth pointing out, me and Vin, sadly, we wasn't allowed to vote. As much as I was tempted when the form was created, I was thinking, I could easily just put just seeing the number, like all the little check boxes, I was tempted to get involved, but we've kept this as independent, as fair as possible. So we haven't voted ourselves.
I mean, I didn't even talk about English whiskey during the voting phase, you know, because I didn't want to post anything out, you know, just because if I'd have been like, hey, I'm drinking this today, that would have been enough to send people voting. So I was like, no, I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah, I don't have as much power as you've been, but I've made sure I had planned English videos, like English whiskey videos. And it's like, nope, that is coming off the timeline till after. We've got a very beautiful bottle being shown by Richard there. The Jackson Pollock of the whiskey world.
Have you been to the distillery?
I have.
So the floor is coated with paint splatters because they literally line the bottles up and literally flick paint at it. So the distillery is forever like being redecorated. It's quite a fun way of doing it.
It's a beautiful thing. It's we've got just a few people. We did have so that's emojis. That's not the one I was meant to click on. So we've got Greg. Just a question for us while having a deep English think. How is the English market regarding local consumption of English whiskey versus Scotch domination? Do locals support it or just our geeks? I'll let you take the lead, Richard, as the exploring whiskey chief.
I think it's undoubtedly true that most English distilleries rely heavily on a local interest to some extent. Obviously, the bigger ones are, you know, in supermarkets and travel retail and things, and aren't exclusively reliant on that anymore. But, you know, even if you look at the English distillery, you know, when it started as St. George's, you know, initially it was going to be heavily reliant on people, at least in East Anglia, to kind of get on board and support and buy it. And, you know, a lot of people obviously want to own whiskey from their own local distillery. I think that sort of transition of when you really hit the big time is when, you know, you're in bars in your city, but other cities as well. Not necessarily London. London's a really tough market for the on-trade, but, you know, you look at someone like Circumstance, for instance, you know, that they're in obviously loads of bars in Bristol, they're in Bath, you know, there are some bars all across the UK that are stocking their product. I've even seen it up in Scotland. So, and then obviously distribution channels like Master of Malt, who obviously, them and Whisky Exchange support a lot of English whiskey. Digital Distiller, which is the guys that do our shop for the English Whisky Festival. They are a specialist English spirit retailer. I think it depends how much you need to shift, really. If you're selling single casks and you've got a really good local community and you've got a good footfall to your distillery and shop. So, for instance, Ludlow Distillery don't release a huge amount of whiskey and sell quite a lot of it through their shop. So, that's not to say they don't need to sell stuff online or into trade and other stuff, but they don't have enough stuff to be, to be selling it globally yet. So, it's going to be different for each distillery, but there's always that local element.
Yeah, which is it's kind of the magic, because we are local to that area, but so many brands as well. It's amazing hearing people from all over the globe saying, oh, this has just reached our shelves, or do you know anything about this? And I'll be thinking, that was made miles from me. I'm so used to the assumption of it's almost, it feels a whole nother world away. Whiskey always did. It was always felt out of my reach, and it wasn't my area. But to now have English whiskey popping up all over the country, let alone not just here in the Southwest, but like, as you said, when you zoom into your map, which I was just looking at, it is just the pins merge into one to make one giant highlight of how amazing and how. So is it 72 now?
Yeah, 71, 72. It's almost like a metaphor for how England sees itself versus how the world sees England. We see this one massive dot, and actually we're just like a bunch of tiny little dots. But
yeah.
Keep the dream alive, kids. Keep the dream alive. Put those flags on lampposts.
No, I like it. We're such a small place. I don't know how you guys are feeling now, but should we? I think we've kept these poor people waiting long enough for the next one.
Yep, I think so. I was just about to message you the same.
Okay.
Perfect. So, Richard, this is your jam. I've been trying to set you to be in control of the stick. Always disappeared. Why is that not working?
You can knock me off if you need to.
That's all right. What I'll do, I'll knock myself off, leave you two to it.
Yep.
Not in that way. While I try to set you to have powers, and I'll just do the clicking from behind the scenes. So, Richard, the ball is yours, and Vin, you could be there for support. Best of luck to you both.
Always.
Yeah, I might need the luck. Do you want me to just go for it? Yeah, so best English whiskey distillery. So, obviously, the previous category was time sensitive, last 8 years for new distilleries. This is any distillery. So, everyone had a chance of being in this. This is a big one. Best English whiskey distillery. A lot to choose from, and I'm just actually checking. I've got the list in my order. So are they going to come up on screen?
They'll come up on screen. Yeah.
All active distilleries, and again, same sort of factors in terms of what you're voting on. So should we do the shortlist
from 4th onwards?
Circumstance Distillery. Obviously very highly regarded, winner of the previous award, and now on the list for the best distillery, the English Distillery. The oldest English distillery, in 3rd place. 2nd place, White Peak Distillery. Who did they? I can't remember who won it last year. Now I'm getting confused.
I think White Peak won it last year. To be fair,
they did. Yeah. So now in 2nd place, which means someone else is the 2026 best English whiskey distillery, and the winner is the Cotswolds. Congratulations again to the Cotswolds. So, not a big surprise really. If you visited, it is a fantastic experience. It's a beautiful location, great buildings. The tour is really slick without feeling corporate. The team are lovely. There's a great cafe on site. The tastings are very generous. Someone said to me they went recently and all the bottles were out on the side after the tasting, and sort of they were joking about going and grabbing more, and they were like, no, just help yourselves. Go have some more. If that's what you want, go have some more. But look, fantastic team. Obviously Dan, who we met earlier, started it all. But we've got Rob as global ambassador, Alice Pearson as distillery manager, producing just phenomenal liquid. And I actually think the bottles are just getting better and better. Very well deserved. Congratulations, Cotswold.
Massively. And I think we might be bringing Dan on as well. Yeah.
Dan,
it's Jeff first. It's Jeff.
Right. It's only me.
Anticlimax. It's only Jeff.
It's just it wouldn't let me do it without highlighting
I've
me
never
for some
seen
reason.
Dan wear that shirt and sunglasses combo, but I would love to see it.
You must be able to get us
Right.
all on screen for this, Jeff. Surely.
It's not letting me.
You can boot me off if
No,
you
don't
want.
worry.
That is definitely not as cool a look by far.
The timing on that was perfect.
Expect it to be.
Hey, Dan.
Well,
No,
hey, guys.
Yeah, a massive congratulations to you, Dan, then for winning the best English whiskey distillery. I think, like I said earlier, you know, I've personally watched you guys grow from strength to strength to being a still house in a quite a small. I don't want to say barn, but really kind of like a small outhouse, and now you've got that massive facility behind. It's truly huge what's going on there, and just the expansion rate that you guys have done is fantastic. But do you call yourselves the most beautiful English distillery at the moment, or is that a thing?
I certainly would call myself that. I got enough money sunk in there, and a lot of other people do, and we try really hard. And you know, the spec of everything we've done is kind of a couple of levels above what you really need. But it's just such a beautiful part of the world. You kind of want to make something that's as beautiful as everything around it. And you know, this is such an important award for me and for everybody at the distillery, because that team tries so hard. They work so hard to make everybody who comes in feel welcome, feel special. That's always been, you know, I always wanted more than anything to build a distillery that people would feel comfortable in, a visitor center that people wouldn't feel rushed in and out of. You know, sofas by a fireplace that you could just sit in the whole morning, nobody bother you. So we want to make it open to the community. We have a lot of folks who use the cafe. They'll just come in for tea and cake or whatever. We don't, you know, there's no hard sell or no timer. And now what's lovely for the last 2 years, we have a huge terrace, which is about to have its big opening. And it's a sun trap, and it's lovely. And you just have the view of the hills, the trees around you. It's fantastic. And this summer, actually, what we're going to do for the first time is we're going to have it open in the evening for happy hour, for cocktails. We are a distillery. We have booze, so why not? So Friday, Saturday, I think Sunday, maybe even, Ollie will be out doing cocktails. And so the more it can be a living, breathing place. I know that's kind of an issue, because these days, you know, there's some brands that are sort of saying maybe we aren't in the brand home business, or we're not in the distillery tour business. And I hope that day sort of never comes, because for us, that's such a big part of who we are. So again, very, very proud of this, and thank you very much for the award on behalf of an amazing team.
And actually, just a couple of things I'd love to say about Cotswolds is the distillery is fantastic, an amazing visit. I really encourage everyone to go. If you love whiskey, if you love English whiskey, you've got to go and visit. It's the pinnacle of the experience. And what I love is that energy and that enthusiasm and that attention to detail shows up when you guys come to shows as well. So, you know, your banner, what you put on the stand, the team at Croydon recently, Dean was like coming out from behind the stand and chatting to people, and it just felt really natural, and they never stop smiling. And it's just, it's wonderful to see that even when they're not within the confines of that brand home, the representation of your brand and what you stand for and the ethos is still there at the very highest level. So I think you've built something really brilliant, and the team obviously believe in what they're bringing to the table. So that's really great. And the flip side of that is the sustainability. So, you know, the reed beds and what you're doing to kind of process wastewater, again, you know, setting the standard really for what everyone should be doing where they can to be super sustainable and you know, to have as little impact on the planet as possible. So congrats.
Thank you so much.
No, I mirror that as well. You know, like I remember the first time I visited. You know, the first building you see was the entry and the shop, and now that's like offices, I guess, because the main shop has been built up between the old still house and that, and it's just been a constant evolution. And I think, like, especially, I mean, I live in Coventry, so you were the nearest for me for a while. Yeah, I've got the distillery exclusive 7-year-old STR. Why not?
Amber Meadow.
But for me, I drive away from the city. I drive down through some of the country lanes. I drive on that great Roman road, the Foss Way, for a short way, and then turn off of that, and I'm in the Cotswolds. And the change is so stark. You know, you see the buildings start to change, and then you come to your little village, and it is a village where you're right next to, and you go through these couple of little winding ways, and there's a sign there, and you turn around, and then there's a field, and there's a distillery there. And yeah, it's really, it's like even the drive down is fascinating. So yeah, I think it's just for me, as what was my local distillery for a long time, obviously very happy to have you on my doorstep, because it's just what you're doing for the category is insane. It's so good.
Well, that works both ways. We're very happy to have you on our doorstep, and you've always been sort of our local, and what Richard too. Everything you've done for English whiskey, so it's a fantastic community. And and the other thing is, I couldn't have imagined any of this when I started. I think we were the fourth English whiskey distillery, if you count, even the ones who really weren't producing since. Lakes, I think, just after us at 5. If you had told me another 65 would have followed, I would have never in my life believed it. So we were happy to kind of just be weird Cotswolds whiskey, be disruptive, be world whiskey. We love world whiskey makers all around the world, the sort of misfits who are out there trying to do something in a place with no kilts or whatever kind of. But this emergence of a category has been just absolutely fantastic. The energy has been, and the place you see it most is actually at Richard's shows. Where you can actually feel it. 30 brands in a room, as he said. It's just unbelievable. It's my favorite show of the year, and that is the complete truth.
Thank you so much. But it's always a pleasure when you actually turn up, and you don't have to come. You've got a team, and it's always really humbling that yourself and founders like Max from White Peak come to the show to represent yourselves. I had a question for you actually, Dan, because obviously you've come back into the fold a bit now, haven't you? So you're kind of more back in day to day, having stepped aside. How's that all going? And did they bring you back into the fold because you were just kind of wandering around, sort of poking holes in everything and going, and they were like, if you know how to do it better, come back and do it. Come on.
Yeah, because they missed my dulcet tones, like looking over the shoulder. No, actually, it came about because we have a new management team that have come in last year. They're fantastic, and Alice is also part of that team. She's fantastic. I am the most sort of scaffolded, managed CEO out there. I think they're quite happy. This year is, you may know, I've got another gig for the year in London. I'm master of the worshipful company of distillers. That's a really busy kind of, it's half of the week. I thought that would really be an issue, but they were all sort of like, yeah, you just go to London. We'll tell you when we need you. Don't worry. And they run everything, and I'm happy for them to do that. So I mean, I think as like CEO, I suppose part of my job is making sure that everything, people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's almost a non-job because they're just doing everything so well. And then the other part is kind of the vision and then that bit that we all have to do, which is go try and make sure that there's enough runway in front of us. And that's a big part of the business these days, is making sure you have what it takes, the working capital to keep it going.
Yeah, the problem at the moment is there's runways, but no one can afford the jet fuel, right?
Yeah,
it's true. Well,
one of my favorite Cotswolds stories, and I think I'll probably tell this every time I talk to you on stream, Dan, but so you'll forgive me for repeating it. But I remember years ago I came down to the distillery and interview you when you only had the signature out. And one of the cheeky questions I asked, I remember it was me and you in the room, and you had your marketing Zoe at the time, who's obviously moved on. But and I was like, so what? I remember asking you, what's the future of the Cotswolds whiskey? And at the time, you only had the signature, and you were like, well, we're going to do a peated cask, we're going to do a sherry cask. And Zoe was just like this, going, oh no, and you were just like, I can tell whatever I like, it's.
Yeah, they usually always say, oh, he's got a look in his eye when he's come back and he's gotten an idea or something, and here we go. But no, I think we have built the range out, quite a bit. We've got now 6 core SKUs. We've got 3 limited editions, and then we've got High Grove as well. So 10 whiskeys. That's a lot, and then single cask on top of that. But most of our sales are in signature, and that is absolutely where we want them. We absolutely we feel, and I think people are going to more and more in this business realize that there is a need for growth. There's a need for volume, and you can stay niche for a little while, but then as you grow and your costs grow and your aspirations, and when you see the category itself growing, you feel like there's opportunity out there. And I think actually I'm biased, but I would say there's a lot more opportunity for English whiskey than there is for our friends up north. Just because we're starting from a lower base. We don't have locks of whiskey. We don't have the issue of the inventory overhang. And we're sort of in the sweet spot where consumers are looking for things that are, more flavorful, more authentic, more interesting. So, I mean, when you see all that, you say, well, let's, how far can we take this thing? And I think everybody in English whiskey is kind of already blown away by how far it's come in a few years. And we all kind of have this idea that, even though we might know where it's going to go, it's going to be in a completely different place in 10, 20, 30 years. And that's part of the fun of being in on the start of a category. We're all doing this kind of almost, probably not even fully for our generation. It's going to be another generation of people who are going to take it to the next level. But hopefully it'll still be around.
Well, hopefully one day there'll be the English Whisky Festival USA, the English Whisky Festival Asia, the English Whisky Festival Europe, get everyone on a plane or a boat and just,
It's a lovely idea.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. That's a good time for me to drop in as Vin disappeared. I think he's trying to fix the fire that I've started. And with that, I'm very grateful to him. There we go. If it'll let me bring him in. Perfect. There we go. Wonderful.
All right.
So yeah, 4 of us. I've enjoyed listening in, to be honest. It's been lovely as I've been opening my bottle of Cotswold Signature. I don't mind having 2 open on the go.
No. I knew I was talking to Jeff in the background then, and he was like, "I've invited you to be sort of like a part of the team," and I was like, "Oh, if I click it, I'm going to get knocked off." And literally, as you were talking, then I was like, "I'm going to give it a go." Boom, gone.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe we both work kind of in tech with the digital world.
No, my entire job is based around putting out fires, not causing any kind of real planning.
No, Dan, it's been amazing listening in, and the magic that you've captured. Let's see if I can show the slide as well. But yes, well deserved. Just to chime in while I can. One of my favorite whiskey distilleries to visit was went with my heavily pregnant wife at the time, so she was the driver, and it was brilliant because we both paid for tickets, and she had, which is the best thing in whiskey tours, is the driver's drams. So I enjoyed mine there, and she's not a whiskey drinker. But we both kind of paid for the tour. So then I went for, okay, I've had these ones here at the distillery, and it's these 4 I want to try next. And I had the lovely little jute bag to bring back with me. So it's one thing that gets overlooked for distilleries, and it's one of the best things to do is the driver's drams. So it's a very well-deserved winner.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right, and with that, we shall move on to the next one. Dan, thank you very much for your time. Grateful to kind of meet you online face to face the first time for me. I've enjoyed seeing every article and every video you've been involved in, and the excitement you have for the Cotswolds is awe-inspiring. So do keep it up, and we'll catch you again in the future.
Right.
Cheers, Dan.
And Richard, I don't want to kick you off because you bring such a magic. However, I don't know how I can manage with 3 people. You're fortunate. You don't need shades to look good. You 2 have got this in the bag, and it's a case of
it's a filter. It's a filter.
Are they like those meta glasses? You're just recording everything and it's telling you what to say.
I wish. I don't think my internet could handle another thing right now. I am running off my phone. So hopefully everyone's not seeing it as hazy as I am, but that is not a problem. And we're going to move on. So we'll catch you up later at the end. Richard, if you want to stick around.
Maybe for the closing remarks.
That'd be brilliant for the debrief. And we'll catch you up in a bit. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Thanks.
I'm sort of trying to coerce my cat to come in grabbing distance. So if I do, I might bring cat on screen. But yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I can manage 2 in one screen, but I can't manage another. No, that's brilliant. So we've gone through.
Oh, we've got to do the top 10. We've got to do the top 10.
Yes, Rich, should we bring Richard back in? Too early. The wheels are very much off. He's ready.
He's ready. Drag him in. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm sure I can find a way.
Pick me off.
This.
Yeah.
No. We can do this.
Hi,
there we go. I just for everyone, I apologize for the apps. You wouldn't believe I've spent weeks preparing for this, but we're getting there, and that's all that matters.
Well,
So
the great
we
thing I can
have
say is
the
that
top
I
10.
have visited all of these. So do you want me to give you like 30-minute rundown on each one? Yeah. So
If you
is this in
can,
order? This is order from bottom to top. So
yeah,
Ad Geffrin, top line, it's both an Anglo-Saxon museum and distillery. So it's a fantastic visit because what you can do is you can send the kids, if you've got them, or anyone that isn't into whiskey, into the museum, and you can do the distillery. Gorgeous building up in Northumberland. Spirit of Birmingham, obviously they've had 2 whiskies out, both been amazing. And great to see such a tiny distillery on that list. They are literally a garage at the end of the garden. Bimber, actually my first ever distillery visit was Bimber. So yeah, not the kind of the glens and babbling brooks of Scotland, but an industrial estate in West London. But obviously, Bimber have rightly earned a place in a lot of people's hearts for producing just fantastic spirit. West Midlands, another one close to me here, and obviously got the bottle. Love what they do there. Really focused on flavour as well. Some exciting experiments with yeasts and casks and stuff. The lakes, sadly you can't visit them now because they've just announced that they've closed their visitor centre, which is a real shame because it is beautiful.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, it was confirmed today. It's a real shame actually. It's a real shame for the category. But hopefully in the future they'll realise their mistake and reopen it. But look, a great distillery, and obviously they've been really pushing at that premium end of English whiskey. Spirit of Yorkshire, one of the farm to bottle distilleries. They've done some great stuff. Obviously they've got the farm, they've got the World Top Brewery, and then they've got the distillery. Up in Filey in Yorkshire. Circumstance, clearly getting a lot of love in all of these awards. Again, a relatively small distillery. And doing some really innovative stuff around yeasts and fermentation, different like grains and yeast combinations. So and very transparent as well. All the information is on their website about every bottle. I think the top 3 don't really need any introduction or more coverage, but rightly so. They're probably the most widely sampled English distilleries, so it's kind of right that they're going to be at the top of this list, but by no means is that undeserved. They're all absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very good looking top 10.
I think for me as well, like worth noting that a good few of them are also in the top 10 of the new English whiskey distilleries, which is I think is very interesting to see. And it's interesting to see who's getting they're getting their name out there, getting their liquid out there. And that's obviously very important to this whole process, is that really, like, again, you guys vote for it. So if we're talking about whiskey, this is about the distillery, but if we're talking about whiskey, you've got to have tasted it, right? To be able to say, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, they've got to get themselves out there and get into people's glasses. So it's huge. It's a huge thing.
Well, and the flip side, obviously Ad Geffrin haven't released their own whiskey. I know they've got the blends, but they're probably on there because a lot of people have visited, because it is a tourist destination. And, there is a huge thing to be said that if you can bring people through your doors and give them that experience, you kind of make fans for life. So, it's a really powerful tool, which is why it's so surprising when someone decides that they're not going to be a tourist destination anymore and shut their doors, because I think it is a huge element of, you look at the top 3, top 5 really, pretty much all of them except Spirit of Birmingham, who you can't visit. And they all have tours, tastings, events. That they are a destination in their own right. So I think that's really important for people to be able to go and experience what they love, or find out what they love through the experience.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said. That was. You know what you're saying, Richard. We're glad we got you in here.
I'm just reading the notes you gave me.
Just the GPT notes.
Yeah.
No, it's wonderful, and it's now by the time I hit my 40th, so I've got plenty of time, but I want to make sure I visit every one of these 10.
Come on, man. When you say things like "I've got plenty of time to my 40th," that makes me feel old already. But
yeah, join the club.
Yeah,
I've got plenty of time to my 50th.
Yeah,
I'll try and do 71 by then.
I always joke though, like I wish I'd have got into whiskey a bit earlier, because it gets harder and harder to find one your own age. So like Jeff was talking about before we started, he got a bottle of whiskey with his birth year on it, and I was like, I'm not going to see a 1985 for a good wedge of time, I don't think so.
I just chased my mental age.
Yeah.
Love a 3-year-old me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very fortunate to go down the whiskey rabbit hole. Like I will say for this, which is going out to the public, I say 18, but questionable whether that was before that I discovered whiskey. But yeah, it's quite, at the moment, there seems to be lots of 1992s appearing, which is quite good for me. So yeah, I can't complain, especially lots of good grain whiskey. But I've got a bit of time to wait till I find an English whiskey that matches my age. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but
no, well, I think probably impossible, right?
The fact someone could have their 18th birthday and be gifted an English whiskey that's 18 years old kind of blows my mind. Like, my son's 10, and the fact that English whiskey is just a thing that exists as he's grown up. It's not going to be a novelty to him. It's just, I mean, he'll probably be absolutely bored of it by the time he's old enough to drink it and just want like kombucha. But it's mad. It's it's in its technically 23rd year, I think, if you count the Hicks and Healy. That was 2003 when they first made the Hicks and Healy stuff. So that's technically a 23-year-old category, which is just
wild.
Yeah,
you don't kind of think that about English whiskey, do you? The depth of the ages, and then you start seeing like age statements appear, and you think, how? Right. If you're ready, Vin, can you have controls now?
Maybe. I don't know. Yes, I do. I do have controls.
Perfect.
Look at that. I'm not sure this is a wise idea.
Well, this can be no more damage than I've done tonight. So I just want to thank everyone for their patience while the wheels very much came off this evening. But I'm grateful to have Richard step in and Vin to carry it on. I'm just here for the purple lighting, to be honest. That's all I bring to the table, and the odd little graphic. So Vin, when you're ready, Richard will bring you back in at the end if you're happy to stick around. Perfect. Thank you everything for you do for English Whiskey Buddy. You're a true English, I'm trying to think of the best phraseology for it, but you are pioneering of English spirits and spreading the word, spreading the English gospel well.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, this is a fantastic platform. So well done for doing it and doing it again, because it's a lot of work. So thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Right, we can make ourselves bigger now. I've reset everything, so we should be good to go.
Oh, look at that. And I moved that as well. Right. Okay. So this is one of our new ones, and this is going to take a little bit of explaining, but essentially what we've got here is the best bottle and presentation design. Now, did you include a thing about this? Yeah. So basically, when we put this together, we were looking for new categories to make it more than just the three, because we were worried that it would stagnate over the years, is the truth. Like it would just be the same people over and over again, that sort of thing. So we thought we'd try and bring some fresh blood to it. And one of the ideas we had was the bottle and presentation design, because that's something that English whiskey kind of has to do to stand out from the crowd a little. And there have been some really incredible examples of that. What we didn't envisage was that there would be quite such a diversity of responses, because we just did this as an open form, literally on the Google form. We did it open source, whatever you call it. When you can type in whatever you like, basically what I'm trying to say. And what we found was that we had, I think, have you got an example on these slides, Jeff? No,
no, it goes straight into them.
Yeah. So basically, what we found was that people were voting for just the distillery, and not just a single bottle, because we thought it was bottle by bottle. Every bottle is slightly different, even from the same brands. Although brands tend to keep a bit of parity across their range, we found that some brands were trying special bottles here and there. And we really wanted to bring it up into that kind of elite category, where we could go for bottle. But like I said, we had about 20% of the votes were just for distilleries. And rather than guess what they meant, or even move that onto a different bottle or whatever, we didn't want to do any of that. We didn't want to make any assumptions, whatever. So the decision was made somewhere in the voting process to turn this into which distillery basically put out the best presentation and bottle, according to you guys. So hopefully you find that fair. Hopefully you find that it categorizes what you wanted to put across. Because what we didn't want to do is literally chop off a fifth of all the votes, because we got, again, this is another category that we got almost 900 individual votes on. So cutting off, nearly 200 of those was just not good for data purposes. So anyway, moving on then. The runners up for this, going again from 4th to 1st and into the winner, we've got the West Midlands Distillery, which we've talked about quite a lot on this show. You know, the great little flecks of paint they've got. Really great presentation, well deserving getting the runner up there. The English Distillery, been around for a long time. They've changed their design a good few times now, actually, and I think that's really good to see. I know a lot of people don't like changes in the kind of branding, but it's essential to keep things going. Second place then is the Cotswolds Distillery. Again, a mainstay. They've had this very striking livery for a long time. Very good. Which brings us on to the winner then, which is the White Peak Distillery, which if I can grab an example for you. I've got the ex-bourbon here, and you can see, yeah, there you go. And you can see the bottle design here is going for their kind of wireworks. I mean, really the best person to talk to about this would be Max, right? So we should probably bring Max on if Max is ready. Yeah, I think he's ready. Go on, bring him on.
Yeah, we're good.
There you go. Hello, Max. Yeah, congratulations on winning the best bottle and presentation design.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, absolutely delighted. I mean, it's about 4 years since we launched our whiskey, and yeah, we got some great credit for the bottle 4 years ago, and it's just lovely to see that. It's still resonating with whiskey fans. So yeah, we're super happy, and I've got to give some credit to Claire, my wife. She does most of the kind of branding and design side of things at the distillery, and this was very much her project. Claire's actually probably busy doing some content. We've got our 10th anniversary celebration tomorrow, so she's we're dividing and conquering yet again. But yeah, we're absolutely delighted to receive this award.
Amazing, and it's really great to see like the 10th. It always surprises me when people are celebrating their 10th. It's crazy to see how quickly this is going on. Like I remember sitting there like waiting for whiskey to be released, and time is just moving on so quickly. But the design of this has got a very specific reason for this twist and draw, hasn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we so the distillery at home is at a former wire works. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and look, we weren't a kind of branding or marketing led idea. We just wanted to make great whiskey when we started off, and after kind of 3 or 4 years in, once we'd laid a decent amount of whiskey down, we then thought, well, we've got to start selling some at some point, and what are we going to call it? And at that point, this former wireworks where we're based had got it's kind of under our skin, and so it was for us. It was there was never any other choice in sort of branding the whiskey after our brand home, and and the bottle, it tries to kind of tell the story of where we are for those that can't visit, and so it's a metaphor for a cable or a wire, and the twists are supposed to kind of signify that the kind of strands you'd expect to see in a cable.
No, I think it's really good. And for my sins, I haven't been to see you guys yet. Just slightly far enough away from me to make it a day trip. So I must change that at some point. But I've seen all the photos, and I love how. I remember at the start, it was like you. Occasionally, you would get to the point where people couldn't park at the distillery; they had to be parked slightly further away and be like Range Rovered in or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have so many Range Rovers in our neck of the woods, but I think our first release. I mean, the main kind of thoroughfare up through the Peak District is the A6, and I think we blocked it up whilst people were kind of queuing to get into our car park. I'd like to say that happens every weekend, but certainly for the first release, it was we were almost on local radio for a major incident.
No, I love it, and it's kind of just this one of those places where you're in. I mean, you call yourself White Peaks because you're in the kind of Peak District, right? So it's that's cool to you draw all that in from the local. In fact, I've got myself a nice Peaks glass knocking around somewhere, wherever that's gone.
Yeah, exactly, Vin. And yeah, thanks for the intro on that. Yeah, so I mean, for those that don't, we're in the Peak District, and the southern half of the Peak District is called the White Peak. It doesn't often get used. The northern half is called the High Peak or the Dark Peak, and that's more commonly used. But yeah, we're in the southern half, and that's where White Peak kind of comes from. And I think it's to do with the limestone geology in our region. But I would just like to just jump in quickly just to say congrats to for Cotswolds and to Dan and the team for the 2 awards they've won, and also to Circumstance and Liam. Yeah, sort of great whiskey being made by many distilleries, but yeah, congratulations to the winners that have come before us this evening.
No, I think that's a really good point as well, because one of the things I've found about English whiskey is that it's, I mean, obviously, technically speaking, from a commercial point of view, everyone's a competitor, but actually it's very a collaborative space, a very friendly space. Everyone's getting along. And like Rich said earlier, it's great to watch people at the English Whiskey Festival going to try other brands and just going to see, like, you know, have a chat. What are you guys doing? What's coming up? You know, and I often see people trying to get away from the stand to go and try other liquid, which I think is really great. Yeah. So,
yeah, and I think that's genuinely the case, Vin. I think, you know, one of the things that characterizes the English whiskey scene is the fact that the brands, with very few exceptions, are still independent, founder-led. And I think, you know, as founders, we've all got a lot of skin in the game, but we all recognize that, you know, we're kind of stronger together in trying to elevate the English whiskey category. And so, yeah, I certainly get a genuine sense there's a lot of camaraderie, and, you know, and even though times are tough, and, you know, we're all competing for some shelf space or back bar space, I think in overall volume terms, you know, we recognize that, you know, we just need to kind of continue to elevate the quality that's coming out of England, and I think, you know, that's been the case for a few years now.
Absolutely. To put you on the spot, Jeff, you got any questions to chuck in?
Well, this category had to be added. So I work in design, and like, this bottle is just fantastic. Even from the little ridge at the very bottom, the wording, like every tiny little detail, and the fact that branding has a story. We're seeing lots of brands rebranding at the moment, mainly to ensure that they can target either a younger audience or to try revive their look on the shelf. But to have a unique design which not only looks stunning, but to tie in with the whole story, and the liquid tells the story of the distillery, but you buy with your eyes first. You can't drink whiskey till you've seen the bottle, kind of thing. And it's just, yeah, stunning. And the fact that you've got all the nerdy information on it is just, yeah, brilliant. And yeah, very grateful for you joining us on this.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
And it's been beautiful to see as well that you've appeared very high up in all the runners up as well. So White Peak is certainly a brand which is not just connecting with us whiskey nerds, but, you know, the ripples are very much spreading out, and it's just, yeah, a wonderful
thank you.
distillery.
Yeah, it's been very gratifying to be kind of you know, mentioned in those top 10s, and that, you know, people are aware of us. And as you say, the on the design side, I think, you know, what has worked well is that it tells a authentic story. You know, we think it's a lovely design, but it's not just design for design's sake. It's telling the story from our brand home, and you know, it's great to see that resonates with people.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And also, just another thing, I want to say thank you, because your bottle is very good to be traced. And my daughter, when she finishes school, I entertain her here in my office, and I've got a couple of crayon like rub-ins from your bottle. So again, thank you for entertaining her for the few minutes while I try to finish work.
Yeah, we must factor that into our visitor offering. That hadn't occurred to me previously.
It's a serious part of the marketing, I imagine. But yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and congrats on the awards again.
Oh, cheers, buddy. All the best.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
Cheers. Oh, I've cut him off a bit too keen then. I do have a bit. I'm on like a 5-second delay, so if I do ever speak to people, then do feel free to mute me. You got the power to do that now.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm grateful for the 5-second delay. You know, it could be even worse, couldn't it? Right?
Yeah. And are you ready now? So I think everyone refers to this next one as the big one.
Well, before you go, we've got the top 10 to do, right?
Yep. See, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping you on your toes, buddy. So yes, we have the top 10, the best bottle and presentation design. You take it away, buddy.
I think this is interesting as well because Rosamond is something that I mean, this is we talked to a lot about distilleries that we'd not heard of before. Same as even Rich, he gets an email and he's like, "Who's this guy?" It's really, really difficult to keep up with brand new distilleries coming out unless they let you know they're there. You know, I've got a day job, you've got a day job, we've all got day jobs, whatever, and it's difficult to kind of scour to find out what's going on. So anyway, this was a new one for me, Rosamond, which is great to see that they're hitting the top 10 across 70 odd distilleries. But I think you'll agree as we go through these guys are, like I said earlier, they've got to stand out on shelves, which is, I mean, it's good and bad. You know, we would love it to be totally spirit-led industry, whatever, but it just isn't. You know, there's a whole reason why we say don't judge a book by its cover, and that's the truth about it. It's because we do. You know, nobody buys a book just because they've never heard of it before. Well, maybe some people do. I don't. But then we go up through the list. We've got Bimber, which have been around for a long time. The only thing I'll say about Bimber is they don't fit in the IKEA Kallax, and I say that every time, and it's the mainstay of the YouTuber group. So you've got to have it on the top, haven't you? Which is unfortunate, but anyway. And then straight into the London Distillery, which again, great. You know, the third time we've mentioned them tonight, and considering they've only been technically going for a year and a couple of months, which is fantastic to see them in such high regard. Spirit of Birmingham, again, you know, very much recognised that they've got to produce something like that. I mean, for my sins, I've left that in the other room, but their first release was in box like a book almost, and it was like chapter 1, and they opened it up, and it's a nice, like, skinny, thin bottle that I love. That, you know, that can fit on my shelf in all different orientations. Big fan of that. Excuse me. Spirit of Yorkshire as well. I would say relatively silent on the kind of social side of things. You know, they're there and they're ticking away, but their spirit really speaks for itself. You know, they're doing great things, but their bottle is very classic, but that also stands out when everyone's doing crazy stuff. The classic stuff stands out still. Lakes, again, I mean, they've been going ages. You know, you can see this quatrefoil bottle design that they've been knocking around with for a long time now is very striking. Really good. You'll notice I haven't got any boxes back here, but I tend to throw my boxes straight away. But all these come in boxes as well. And then going on to the West Midlands Distillery, again, I should have bought this box out, but they've got that white bottle, which is something that's fantastic anyway. And one that it's all full of features, because I really don't like opaque bottles. You can't see the level of the liquid. They thought about that, and the complete bottom of it, whereas, you know, using this as an example, that's all clear. So you can still see that. And in the box, which again, I don't normally talk about much, when you open it up, it fans out and it's got a map of the local area on it. And their whole naming mantra is all based on their family, which I really like. Really fantastic. Straight into the English again, as we mentioned earlier. They've got a great range. They've changed a few times. Cotswolds, and then obviously White Peak at the end. I think a well-deserving winner because of their particular bottle design. And as Max has quite eloquently said, it matches their heritage and what they're trying to do perfectly. And as you said, Jeff, you know, we love all this stuff here. You know, people that are watching this show right now, there's not a single person who's watching this that's not going to say, give me more information on the label. From a reviewer's point of view, it's fantastic because I don't have to do as much research. But having all of this on here is fantastic, and I really appreciate that. There you go. That was a lot of words in a very short period of time.
No, you've done it beautifully, and you've done it much more succinctly than I could, because I would definitely get carried away talking about every typeface used, the kerning of the letters, and how wonderful that is. So you've done it perfectly, and so hopefully I'm not rushing too keenly on this time, but we are getting to what does get referred to as the big one. That is talking about the best English whiskey. So this is the best English whiskey for 2026. The big one, it's just one bottle, which stands out as what you feel is the best English whiskey that you've tried. So for some people, they've tried 30 odd bottles, maybe more. And this is like, you're just picking the one that for you stands out as that is English whiskey. You have captured that magic in a bottle. And with that, we'll go through to the runners up, starting with, so you have the Wireworks Heritage Chef. This is a word that I do struggle with. Heritage Chevrolet. We got that. That will do.
Chevalier.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Which is a very new release. I don't know how long ago that came out, but that's
no, I don't think I've tried it actually. But yeah,
it's banging. But as we'll see, there's lots of banging whiskey we've talked about tonight, including next the English Sherry Cask, which is popped up a few times tonight. And then the final runner-up, you have last year's winner, the Wireworks Bourbon Barrel. So this year, the winner is Cotswold's Signature Single Malt Whiskey. So we have a double presentation from the Cotswold's Signature and a triple presentation from Cotswold's this year. And I think there's only one man who we can bring on to talk about this. I've mastered getting 3 people on the screen now. Dan, are you ready to join us?
He's ready.
I assume so. Let's go.
Perfect. Hey,
congratulations.
Thank you so much, guys. Oh, that's you've made the night, you've made the weekend and the month. So I still have a little signature left. I was tempted because I'm sitting here right next to some Harvest cask, which I do love, the latest one, but I've still got the signature and it always delivers. So I'm really touched. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's very well deserved winner. It's everyone who I've given it to, whether they're like, if they're interested in the English whiskey scene, if they're hardcore Scotch fans. I've got a lot of friends who kind of Irish only. That's kind of because they didn't see it as, yeah, this is not whiskey. This is what you have at the end of the night. And I don't think anyone has ever not enjoyed the signature, the delightful shreddies in a bottle, the malty goodness, the cereal delight that is the signature. And yeah, we've spoke about it already this evening, but it is well and truly deserved to be the winner. And for everything you're doing with Cotswolds, please keep it going.
Thank you so much. We will try. And this means so much to everybody at the distillery that worked so hard and is trying very hard to move it forward, to move English whiskey forward, move Cotswolds forward, to make this work, to, just to continue this incredible experience that everyone in English whiskey has lived through. But, in the end of the day, we are increasingly realizing that it's, you come kind of full circle, because we have gone through this exploration, and we have, we have about 6,000 casks or so. I'd love nothing more than to try them all. Just because everyone is just a little bit different, and there's no end of interesting whiskeys that we could make through them. But what we're increasingly realizing is that this business at some point, it has to kind of grow up, it has to mature, it has to achieve kind of critical mass. Your sales really need to, because this is a manufacturing business. It requires a lot of folks. And you have to pay everyone, and you have to somehow keep your investors happy. So that does mean growth. And I truly, signature is what that's all about. It's about growth through delivering the goods, but at a price, and having, someone once said, you have to have mental availability, and you have to have physical availability. So you have to be out there, and you have to, do battle in the trenches, in the trenches of Tesco, the trenches of Waitrose, and it's not easy. But if we're trying to bring this out to a wider audience, that's what we're doing, and we really truly believe that signature is what hopefully will do it for us. So I think it's always going to be my go-to dram, even though problem is they all become like your kids, and you never want to say like one more than the next. You love them all, but there's maybe one you have your eye on a little bit.
we always have a favorite though, right? We might not say it, but
exactly.
No, I think thoroughly deserved. It's like we mentioned earlier. It's one of those mainstays whiskies that it's been. Do you know what? I haven't tried a batch from nearly 10 years ago and batch now to check for consistency. But from what I've noticed, it hasn't changed all that much over the years, and it's just been that's a real challenge in itself, especially in a relatively small operation, is to keep that consistency going. But to keep that price point, it's just been, it must be so stunningly difficult to achieve that all over the years.
I think I might change the diagonal label now to just stunningly difficult, because that's about, what it really comes to. I mean, again, we started off really wanting to explain everything, every drop of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this, making this whiskey. We realized that, sadly, not a lot of people really give you the time to explain or want to know quite as much. They want something that's consistent, something that delivers, something that gives you a big flavor. But for this channel and for those who are tuned in, I think they will appreciate it. And it is a bit of a shout out to the people who go to make it, because, again, it does start with, very small production barley, very small production malting, and all floor malted, which is amazing that, every drop of our whiskey is floor malted. And if you ever have a chance to go down and check out Warminster Maltings, it's and Jeff, it's right around the corner from you. You really got to go to Warminster. It's like stepping back in time. It's just the most unbelievable place. So it starts out that way, and then the process, long fermentations, and a very, we're a Jim Swan advised distillery. Many of them typically have elements of the process which are pretty similar. It involves, a very fruity new make. Another thing we're super proud of is our new make, our white pheasant, as we call it. And we make sure every visitor tries out the unaged whiskey, because that's the way they get to understand the DNA. And then those amazing casks that we use. But then, as if that's not enough, I mean, our team, to make this quote unquote supermarket whiskey, they are disgorging it, proofing it down, mixing the two casks, the bourbon and the STR, and then putting it back in a cask. So they're doing all that work twice, which is pretty backbreaking, or pinky breaking. And the person who broke his pinky will know what I'm talking about. So get well soon, Alex. But there's a lot of work that goes into this. So when people see it, and what I worry about sometimes is when people see it in a supermarket at a low price, say, well, this just can't be as good as that other one that's twice the price. And that's just not the case. It's just simply not our strategy. Our strategy is to make it so that everybody can drink something that's got a lot of flavor and not have to lay out a lot of money. And there's also another reason behind this. We don't want to be a whiskey you have 1 dram of and put on the shelf. We'd rather, we have another great product at Cotswolds, which isn't a whiskey, it's Cotswolds dry gin. And gin kind of turns over at a bit of a different rate than whiskey, because at least in the Shore house, perhaps thanks to Mrs. Shore. Just kidding, sweetheart. But the bottles of gin just go, whereas whiskey typically, you're drinking it by the dram. But the idea behind Signature is a whiskey that is not so expensive that you're going to think twice. So there we go.
And a shout out for the gin as well, because I am not a gin guy at all, and it's still the only gin that I will happily drink. The rest of them I would say no to. No, I'm not in the mood for that. But that gin you make is game changing for a non-gin drinker. It's always in our house. It's a house full of gin drinkers. I'm the only whiskey drinker here, so we've always got it. And it's out of all like 7, 8, 9 bottles of gin we've got in the cupboard, it's the only one that I could drink by a long shot. I find that too perfumey otherwise.
Thank you very much. Well, we always say it's gin made by a whiskey geek, basically.
Yeah.
And it's all about big flavors and nice balance. That's basically the house style, of big flavors and balance. That's the 2 things you need, I think.
No, I think, like I say, well-deserved win, a fantastic whiskey. Dare I ask, if it weren't for the Signature, which whiskey would you go to next for the guys who are watching in your range?
It's kind of hard not to say the one that's called Founder's Choice, because that sounds a little weird. And actually, there is a little bit of that sort of battle in that I still, Founder's Choice being 100% STR and STR being a cask, I'm absolutely in love with and always will be. It just gives me the flavor that is my flavor in a whiskey. It's that kind of slightly brandy-ish, kind of slightly vinous kind of, but it's almost, I always say that the STR, it gives you sort of like bourbon Armagnac put together on a single malt backbone. it's like the nicest flavors in the world. So Founder's Choice is like concentrated STR. We say it's a desert island dram because your bottle will go a lot further if you've only got the one, 60%. But what's interesting about cask strength whiskey is that even though it is a lovely experience, right? Because when you're in the mood to spend some time with your whiskey, add a drop of water, have a few sips, add another drop of water, it changes, have another few sips. It's lovely for that. And then there's times honestly, your day has just been such that you just can't be bothered and you just want a nice dram and you want it at the strength that, is kind of perfect. So that's where Signature really comes in. So, but I would say, between Signature and Founders, I'd be pretty happy as long as I could once in a while have the other 8 too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you as well, and dare I say, right at the end of the stream, like my favorite from your range has always been the Founders. It's a fantastic dram, it's especially for a bang for buck. What is it? Still 60 odd quid or something like that? I think it's
it's a little bit more. I mean, the thing is that the higher strength you get, the higher the hit you get from all the damage that's been done in duty for the last couple of years. But I mean, I think it's still, I think we're at about 70, low 70s or something like that. And I think, again, for that price, the amount of flavor, I mean, we clearly, the whiskey that inspired me, for Founders really, and it was Jim Swan's, one of his big achievements was Cavalan and the Vigno Barrique, the blue label Cavalan, which won World's Best Single Malt. When I first tried it, and this is before I knew anything about Jim Swan and helping Ian Chang build Cavalan and creating the STR for that project. I just tried it and just said, holy moly, this is unbelievable. And it's 4 years old and it's made in Taiwan. And I had all my whiskey buddies tasted blind and try and guess what it was. It was always 15 years, 20 years old. It was some sort of a wine or a sherry guess. No, it's 4 years old. It's made in Taiwan. And that's the fun of New World whiskey, because it gets people that are kind of set in their ways to open up a little bit. I don't know if you guys saw that clip on Instagram from Bevy about English whiskey versus Scotch.
Yeah,
that was lovely. They did a blind taste test, and what was lovely about it was they came out of it not wanting to sort of say, "See, this is better than the other," whatever. It's just, see, they're both great, but get rid of those preconceptions that one is better than the other, because that's just not the case. Everybody's got a whiskey out there that's for them.
Yeah, certainly. And the Signature, I see it as the Signature is a great way to lure someone in, and the Founders is a great bottle to make someone sit down. It's kind of, for me, it was the step up. I started with the Signature. I believe it was in a supermarket. I found it's like, English whiskey, before I kind of did the English whiskey deep dive. And then from there, it was the Founders and then the bourbon. And then it's just been a deep dive from then. The peated cask one is just amazing. So a phenomenal range. But for me, the Signature is the real English whiskey diamond that is accessible for everyone. It can get into everyone's hands and it doesn't mess about. It's a good, well-made, brilliant whiskey.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I thank you. The team thanks you. My kids would thank you if they knew I was doing this tonight, but dad hanging out on the computer on the Friday night. But it's it's lovely, and thank you guys for what you do, really, just to put English whiskey just a little bit more on the map. This is the best English whiskey week I think we've had. Every year they kind of get a little bit bigger. The press comes out more, and just seeing this category kind of bloom and watching it grow and mature, and people mature, in it, the way that they look at the business, the way they look at their brands, evolving their brands. It's just fantastic. It's really great fun. It's like being on a wave, and hopefully, long may that continue.
Yeah, definitely. And before we progress through to the top 10, Max, if you're available, I think this is a bit prime time. I've just seen it's almost getting to 11 o'clock. So before people want to start dropping off and going to bed, we're grateful for your time, Dan and Max, and Richard as well. If you'd like to join just to do a final cheers before it hits the 11 o'clock bedtime hour, if you're ready. Unfortunately, Liam is unable to join us from circumstance, but let's see if I can make it work. Perfect.
Hey,
Welcome
Max.
back, Max.
Gentlemen, hey Dan, congrats.
How you doing? Rich?
Yeah, pretty good. Yourself?
Good. I've saved the last sip for you guys, so cheers, you all.
Yeah, likewise.
A giant thanks to everyone in English Whisky for however you're involved in it. Either you're spreading the good word or making the superb spirit. Just a massive thank you. And Vin as well for carrying this evening. And for everything you've done. This has been, I didn't expect English Whisky Awards to get as big as it has. It's beyond my small hands and little shades. So a thank you to you all. Keep doing what you're doing, everyone. Cheers to brilliant English Whisky.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Vin. Cheers, Jeff.
You're welcome to hang around and we can chat at the end, but I understand it is getting late. That's my bad for starting later this evening. But we'll drop you into the background. Cheers, Dan. Cheers, Max. And cheers, Richard. There we go. Right. So we'll quickly dive into the top 10, Vin.
Top 10. Let's do it. I think this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. And just before we quickly fly in, I am sorry on a delay. So again, I can't see people. It's just all a blur. Everyone's pixelated, but hopefully everything's okay at the front end. If it's not, let me know.
Honestly, it looks good, mate.
Oh, that's good. My phone sounds like it's going to take off. But Alan, I know you've had a few technical issues, but it's not impacted the show. Thanks for the hard work. Having a couple of drams, Pete and Vin. Thank you very much. And George, congrats to the winners and runners up. Fantastic work. Thanks for the effort pulling together. It's very much team effort. It's been a blast doing it, but it's also been an awful lot of work. I think you agree, Vin, because you had the horrid job of the counting all the votes.
Yeah, so, I mean, like from a statistics point of view, it was very manual this year, and I am keen to avoid that next time because it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think genuinely, perfectly, we split our skills and expertises and resources excellently. You know, you're a design guy, you're a busy guy. All of this that you see, this is all Jeff. But I'm a data nerd. You know, I'm not the best data guy in the world, but I'm good at Excel. So for me, it was I probably did it a touch quicker than you could have if it was doing the other way around, right? So
way more than a touch, yeah.
Yeah. So it was fantastic. And what we've pulled out in terms of data, yes, we've presented some of it today, but the numbers, I think we're going to try and send a little a deck to the brands, because I think the brands are going to find it really useful to see how people have come through, because what we don't show here is how close or far away each one was to the next. And especially at the top, you know, the top 3, 4, 5 whiskies on each of these lists were so close, you know. And as you can see here, you know, we've got quite a few Wireworks in this list. And let's say those guys banded together and all voted for the same one, then it might have been slightly different, but that's just how you guys vote. So yeah, it's definitely food for thought on the data aspect of it. But that's all back end. You guys don't really care about that. But yeah, it's it was a big job this year, more than I was expecting it to be. So I will be looking at some automations for next year for sure.
We just need to get someone else to do that. But I did it the first year, and it was a big job for me, and it was a third the size of this year. So yeah. I do bow down to you there, and I forgot how much work it was putting like just these slides together. And I'm going to point it out, but no one's noticed it, but it's been bothering me all evening. The misalignment in these slides. I don't know if anyone spotted.
I didn't notice until you said it, but now you've pointed it out. It
is
atrocious.
I've released the beast now, and I've let everyone know. But yeah, it's been, and every slide it's been annoying me, the little offset. But it's, you know, that's just me being a sad designer. But we'll go through the top 10. So you have Circumstance, the organic single grain, the English gently smoked sherry hogshead, Wireworks port cask, the English chapter 18, Wireworks Caduro, Wireworks Necessary Evil, Wireworks Heritage Chevrolet. Is that it?
I think it's Chevalier, but close.
The English sherry cask. I'm sure Max is there with his head in his hands thinking, why is this man butchering?
This is the power of editing usually, though, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. I can put it down to Bell's palsy as not being able to speak, but it's just me being dim. We got the English sherry cask, Wireworks bourbon barrel, and then at the top Cotswold signature. So that is a fantastic shopping list. I know I've said that line a few times, but it really is. I've tried majority, but the ones I have tried, I believe I can say a hand on my heart, they're all bangers.
Do you know what? I wish I would have tried. I mean, I've tried quite a few of these at festivals and whatnot. In terms of bottles owned, definitely not. And I know things like the English Chapter 18 is a fairly new intro into that. But yeah, I mean, without a doubt, if out of all of the categories we've had so far, if you were looking for a shopping list, this is it. And there's not. I'm looking through it now. I don't think there's any on here that are particularly difficult to get hold of. I don't know how the single grain circumstance is doing now. That was, there's a few iterations of that, maybe a different batch than what we've got. The gently smoked sherry hogshead, I don't think I've tried. The Chapter 18 I haven't tried yet either. I've tried most of the Whiskey Works ones. The sherry cask obviously is award-winning, bourbon barrel award-winning, signature award-winning.
I think the heritage is sold out now. I think.
Okay.
I'll message Max because I tried it and I was like, oh, this is very good, and it's the one that I've been hovering over to buy, but I got a feeling it's sold out. I could be wrong, and if it's not sold out, buy it as any of these bottles.
Purchase, yeah.
You won't go wrong. But yeah, Cotswold Signature is a fantastic whiskey as well.
I'll tell you the one thing that's interesting is that it lacks a heavily peated. I think some of it has got a bit of peat, dare I say.
There's the English gently smoked. I'm guessing that's peated cask.
Yeah, it lacks heavily peated, and I find that really interesting because I think peated is a very strong part of the category. But yeah, really telling from what you guys are drinking, which is fascinating.
Yeah, so the Wild Works, I know the bourbon one's lightly peated. I believe the Heritage is unpeated. I could be wrong, and I don't know about the Necessary Evil. I've got it right here. Let me tell you. Yeah, that's lightly peated as well.
Lightly peated as well, yeah.
And that, for me, that's Wild Works' jam. That little kind of good way to compare it is like Ardmore, that kind of, but in a better way, that lightly peated, like the little bit of depth added to it. It just sings, we've got Max there confirming is sold out, which makes it even more impressive because it was a very small outturn of bottles to get so high in the top 10. But I think, with Cotswolds, as Dan was saying, by getting great whiskey in so many hands. Yeah. And he said it's in the supermarket. I'm currently trying to research the best supermarket whiskey. And I don't see Cotswold Signature as a supermarket whiskey, even though you can find it on the shelves in there. It doesn't have that supermarket feel to it for me. For me, it's just a premium kitchen banger, which I have.
Kitchen banger.
I think I've got like 3 bottles inside the actual house, which I know I'm happy to pour for anyone. And if I'm cooking tea, I'm happily have a dram of it without thinking too much, but still enjoying it. But yeah, this is an absolute. But I do need to try more from the English. For me, that's a brand I've not tried enough of.
Oh, you need to give Soren a call. Come to honestly, I know we've been banging on about this, but you need to get to the English Whiskey Festival this year. It's not too far from you, and it'll blow your mind because like Rich is going nuts in the green room, but Soren will look after you for sure.
I would love to. My issue is I've got to get to the nearest train station, and we live in a place where the Uber doesn't exist. Taxis, you can't get a taxi around here. There's no public transport, and I gotta find someone I can convince to pick me up. I think the train rolled in last time. It's going to be about 11 p.m.
Hey, come and stay with me, man. I live in the local area. Come stay with me. We go back the next day. You're all good.
There you go. You'll regret that. I'm a loud snorer. But with that, I think I've got some nerdy slides.
Oh, actual stats. I didn't know you were doing this. Let's go.
I did. Yeah, this was before I showed it to you. This is what I did just before joining. This was the mad panic after I found the bottles. I don't know if Richard, if you'd like to join us for this, to talk nerdy English whiskey stuff.
He says yay.
Let's see if I can get it to display in all 3 of us. There we go.
Look at
that. Vin, I'll let you take the lead on it just because my audio has disappeared again and I can't hear you.
I was going to say, thanks for chucking in a random slide that I don't know about and then saying I can take the lead on it, but I appreciate that. One of the things we did on the quiz, let's say on the voting, was we asked people just a few different questions at the end to see really how much people had tried, just to, for our own interest necessarily. But as you can see here, the split between how people are voting based on what they've tried is really astounding. For a start, we had 0.4 of people who haven't tried any at all, and yet still had some opinions on English whiskey, which is great. The largest wedge, I've only tried between 4 and 6 brands, which is not unreasonable to say, because there's only really like a small wedge of them that are really, really, really high profile. But I think that what's really telling here is that 7% of the people that voted, over 500 people, have tried over 21 of the brands, which is massive. I mean, this is probably your first time seeing this, Rich, but what do you think about this?
So I was just replying to some comments, trying to be helpful. I mean, the great thing is that the lowest number is people that haven't tried any, and
Of course.
there's some people that have tried absolutely loads, so it's fantastic. I think this is really reflective of the results tonight. There are brands that are much more widely available. Some literally in supermarkets and places that people can get them really readily, and that's obviously going to have an impact on kind of the outcomes. But it's great that those top 10 lists, and I really like you do that, because that shows the breadth and depth of the category. I was actually really surprised there were some brands that didn't come up at all tonight. So your likes of Cooper King, Whitaker's, I guess even like Forest, they are small and they do release small batches of whiskey, all of them. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see if they, if they were maybe like 11, 12, 13, like just off the list, like where they sit. I'd love to sort of delve into that wider data. But look, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg. Once people start drinking English whiskey, and they're starting with really good stuff, it's not like the big players are doing things badly. There's no like Brewdog of English whiskey, for want of a better comparison. There's no one kind of taking advantage of the scene. Like, everyone is craft, everyone is doing it properly, everyone is maximizing flavor through various steps that they take on production. So yeah, just keep widening your experience and try more stuff. And there's probably a local distillery near you that's smaller than maybe the ones that you've seen win the awards tonight, and go and try them out, go and support them, go and visit, buy the stuff, and yeah, just keep trying. Try.
No, completely agree. Have you got some more slides there, Jeff?
Yep, I've got one more, and that is the people's answering how many bottles of English whiskey they owned.
I think this is really cool.
Yeah, the vast majority, over half people, own between 1 and 5, which I think's pretty good based on the amount of distilleries. That's quite a good representation. Have gone.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think the people that are like have been on screen so far. I mean, like me, I'm sitting on like 120 bottles or something ridiculous like that. So for me to have this many English behind me, and this is not even all of it. Some of it's in the other room. That's rare. And for people to have 11 or more, 6 to 10, even 1 to 5, that's massive. Because if they're only going to have less than 10 bottles, to have between 1 and 5 English is pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's so 3.2% without owning any, but I think we're being whiskey fans, we're very good at sharing. So that could also be trying it at like friends, bottle splits, sharing samples, as well as at festivals.
Or maybe they were the people that voted for Scotch distilleries that you discounted.
It could be, yeah.
They're just a couple of Scots that I'm going to try and mess with this.
Yeah. I would say this year, Vin will know more. I felt like we had a lot less voided votes than last time. I feel like last time there was an awful lot of either Scotch, and there was a lot of backlash for not including Penderyn in this awards. And it's great that Welsh whiskey has its own thing now, because it's its own category which should be celebrated. But yeah, I fall. What category do I fall into? I'm in between. I think I'm the 6 to 10 now. I think so. Which is between 6 and 10 bottles of English whiskey is a very good place to be. And the fact that over 21% of people have that amount of English whiskies. And you've got Tom joining in the chat as well, saying he owns about 60 bottles of Wireworks. Does that count?
I mean, look at his icon. That'll tell you everything you need to know, right?
Yeah.
I think they're all from his cask. One thing I was going to say was, I can't remember now because we've got distracted by Wireworks. You've had enough tonight. Go away, Tom. No, I'm joking. You've had your piece. Oh, yeah. So that was exactly what I was going to say. Was would you consider next year maybe doing like an English whiskey experience? not because I want to be able to enter the festival, but actually in terms of like that visitor experience, events that people do, you know, Wireworks do their kind of woodland sessions and stuff. So maybe things that expand the awards. Do you think you might kind of look at other ways in which you can celebrate the category?
Well, my big question is, can I do that in my pajama bottoms? Yes or no? Because if I can,
the woodland session or the awards. We don't know what you're wearing below the waist right now, and please don't reveal all.
No, it's a long-standing joke that I am always in pajama bottoms when I live stream, and it is no different today.
Well, I can confirm during setup.
Someone's just said English blends, and that was another one I was going to message you offline, but let's just have the chat now. Like blends, bottlers, like, you know, that whole world of English whiskey that isn't just the distillery. So yeah, it'd be great to see a category for blenders and bottlers. You know, the people like the Heart Cut, obviously, you know, we've had blends from Compass Box if you get your hands on it, and obviously Heart Cut do their blend. There was also Woven. So yeah, no, it'd be great. I mean, it's more work for you guys, so tell me to F off, but you know, it would be great to see that those kind of like slightly further afield categories that aren't just about the distillery and the product. But that's just me, you know. I
and with any other feedback as well for everyone watching, chuck it in the comments on the video as well. Me and Vin will go through and pick them up as well and pick, you know, each other's brains for this. I'm well for keeping this expanding, but I know also I don't want to give us too much of a headache of weeks of counting votes. And
I've got some ideas. I've got some ideas for you to make that simpler. So we'll chat offline. But yeah, I think you could do more and have less work. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I will put my hands up, and I was very slow to the gun this year. Let's say I'm grateful for Vin's patience, because it came around very fast. In my head, I was still thinking it was November, like we did in the first year, and then it's kind of, I don't know, when was it? That's the start of April, and I was like, oh, it's go time now, isn't it? Just seeing like English Whisky Week, and it's been brilliant doing it alongside English Whisky Week, as it's become like part of this wider celebration. So I imagine this is the week we'll do it again in the future, Vin. Not to commit to anything yet.
No, I think so. I think it's worked really well here. You know, because for me, doing our own, we are independent, you know, for sure, but having the buy-in from the brands is really important, even if they don't have a say in what goes on. And you know, to be part of the English Whisky Week and to have that kind of public, everyone looking at English Whisky Week, you know, now it's been massive this week, and I really appreciate all the content from like Rich and the distilleries that have been going up this week has been really fantastic. And like I say, I mean, considering it's just me and you, and this is only our second year, the fact that we've managed to build any kind of credibility whatsoever is pretty cool. But that's the reason why we keep it community led, from you guys out there watching, voting. It's got nothing to do with us. I mean, we might change things next year and have some experts involved, you know, to make it a bit more streamlined, but we'll see how we get on with that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been one of the things that I need to point out. I know I'm very good at moaning. It's been an absolute blast celebrating English whiskey, and apart from the buckets of sweat with every technical issue I've had this side, with everything going wrong, it's still been fantastic. So hopefully everyone's enjoyed it and you've got something out of it. We can only apologize for people's wallets tonight. I've seen many people commenting that they've been buying bottles. I caught someone's comment, and I didn't pin it, was they caught a very large amount of was it Cotswolds bottles they purchased?
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like a whole range. So it's amazing that this is a gateway for people to discover English whiskey. And I think, yes, that was the last slide.
Hey guys, it's been fantastic. On behalf of everyone, thank you for putting it together. Like, you know, we've said it's a huge amount of work, but I think, you know, just to be able to, and I kind of come back to those top 10 lists, because you know the award winners, it's fantastic and it's a real accolade for them, and it's a growing award, you know, that holds prestige as the category grows and as your kind of respondees increase. But I think that top 10 list is really where it's quite interesting for people to go, wow, I didn't even know that distillery existed, and they're in a top 10 with brands I do know. So I think that's a really nice touch. Also, someone's just asked about regulations in English whiskey. Can I just touch on it really quickly? I don't want to.
Please do. Yeah,
far away.
So at the moment, there is not a GI or geographic indication, but there's an application for one, and it is going through with DEFRA. So at the moment, English distilleries only have to adhere to the basic EU regulations that were sort of ported over after Brexit, which is essentially the kind of 40% ABV, 3 years in a wood cask, doesn't specify oak, and various kind of like percentages about what can go into the cask, percentage, what comes out, etc. Grains, all that kind of stuff. Mashed, distilled, etc. So quite loose regulations. The GI is trying to go much further in establishing what it means to be English whiskey. There have been some objections, both from the Scotch and from within English whiskey. And I think, I don't know where it's landed, but basically someone within DEFRA is going to have to make a decision and say, well, we either push it through as it is, or we amend it. Now, the Scotch objection was around the idea of single malt being on a single site. So the English GI doesn't require the wash to come from the same site as it's then distilled. So essentially the mashing, fermentation, beer phase, if you will. And I think what's quite unique about England, and actually Wales has this in their GI and America have it in their regulations, but what's quite unique about England is we are a brewing tradition. We're a brewery and beer country first and foremost. So to collaborate with breweries, to be able to get your wash from a brewery seems like a very natural thing here, and lots of people do it. Even those that do it in a way, so like Filey Bay, for instance, it's their farm, their grain, their brewery, but it's technically too far away to call it, like they couldn't call it a single malt in Scotland. But that just seems ridiculous. And actually my counter to that is that in Scotland, you can do all those steps and then mature offsite. And for me, actually, maturation is really important. Your microclimate affects maturation wherever you are. So if your wire works, cold, damp, big kind of warehouse by a river and a forest, it's very different to say the Cotswolds, which is, probably in a slightly warmer place, or Norfolk, which gets more sun than anywhere else in the UK. So I think the Scotch have been really selective, and basically it just shows a little bit of fear. I think a little bit of fear north of the border that actually English whiskey is, it's not competing on a volume scale by a long shot, but the fact that it keeps winning awards, it keeps being talked about, there's clearly a little bit of concern there. So yes, there are regulations coming. What they'll actually be is not defined yet, and probably they'll get, it'll get kicked down the line as far as they can, and then it'll just, next time there's a general election, it'll be one of those things that they just throw out there with a load of shit that they don't want to deal with. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, on that future positive note, looking forward to the next step in English whiskey. Richard, a massive thank you for joining us this year. If we do expand to wider categories and more work, we'll rope you in to help us. I'm sure you'd be more than happy to.
I'm great with Google Forms. We'll sort it out. It's fine.
Perfect. Thanks so much for joining us this year, Richard. It really means a lot, mate.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
All right. And with that, we have completed another English Whisky Awards with no issues. I think it's fair to say. None
at all. No issues whatsoever.
We're really grateful to everyone who's watched. And again, thank you for your patience. I'm very fortunate that I'm wearing shades right now, because the amount of darting around I've had to do this evening, it is definitely taking its toll, but it has been an absolute blast. It's been wonderful chatting English whiskey. Vin, thank you so much for all the work you've put in. I think this is the best year for English Whisky Awards it's been so far. We've got better. Yeah. We've improved. So the third time, do you think we'll have it perfect?
No, of course not. No, it wouldn't be us if it was perfect. If you can do all the work you like in the world, but if you forget to press mute or unmute on the first second, then that's just classic. The amount of times we've all done that, it's but that's us. That's what I like about what we do as YouTubers, and dare I say the dreaded I word, the influencer crowd, is that almost none of us are professionals. We're all just enthusiasts, so I think that's really important to continue that as best we can, and to celebrate the little mistakes when they pop up.
Yeah, for sure. And like with English whiskey, it's the passion that's carrying us through, and I think on that's the perfect time to call it there. If you're happy with Vin, thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone watching. This has been the English Whisky Awards 2026. Bring on 2028.
It's got to be 2027, surely. Take a vote in the chat.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. We'll see. I could do with a nap.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to bed straight after this.
Yeah. Right, grateful to you all. Cheers, Vin. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks.